Welcome to the Alita Army channel. This is Radio KAOS, the voice of Alita Army, episode 20, reviewing the critic reviews of Alita Battle Angel and extras, where we discuss all things to do with the movie Alita Battle Angel, the source manga Gunmu, and the greatly desired sequels. I'm your host for this episode, Max Tech Joy, and with me are Foxfire from Germany.
Hi.
Star Valium will be popping in a bit later. He's currently walking the dog, and he's in Michigan. Paulie, who's running the show for us today. G'day, Paulie. And our guest today, although he's not really a guest, he's practically one of us here running the place. It's the last 300. He's down in Florida.
How's it going?
And our special guest today is none other than Pixel Phoenix. She was an extra in the filming in Austin, and she's currently in Texas. G'day, Pixel Phoenix. How you doing? Have you got any audio, Pixel? We can't hear you.
Sorry, guys.
There you are.
It's cutting in and out.
Oh, that's not very helpful. We'll have to have words with the internet down in Texas there.
Yeah, of course.
So, Pixel, if you can hear me, please let us know what you had to do with the movie and how you got involved with the leader in the first place.
I apologize. So hopefully I don't freeze up on you guys. I had been a fan of Alita since I essentially got introduced into anime and manga. So when even the rumor went around that this would become a actual live action film, I was super excited. Then in, I want to say the fall or winter of, I think 2017, you guys might correct me on the timeline here. We found out through just kind of emails going around that they were looking for extras. And I unfortunately was going through some medical issues and could not apply at the time. I thought, damn it, I've totally missed my shot here. But some friends of mine did get in and got in some scenes, more like the downtown, or not downtown, but the kind of slum street area. And then after I had recovered from my medical issues, the email went around again. They were looking for more extras, but that this would be some kind of sports arena scene. And I applied with my green mohawk and my tattoos, and I got a call back. And,
You were what they were looking for.
Can you say again?
You were what they were looking for. You had the look.
I think I did, which I didn't expect because we didn't, all we knew was a sports arena scene, and at least from my knowledge of what was going on with the story at that time, there was supposed to be a mix of kind of the upper elite classes and then the slum people that were big fans. And so I wasn't sure what they were going to do with me. Strangely enough, they made us bring all our own
Sorry about that.
They
My
asked
dog.
us all to bring our own wardrobe. I'm just excited, that's all.
All right.
But
Muting.
yeah, they had us bring our own wardrobe and didn't really explain what they just kind of said, like ripped up clothes or punky clothes, cyber, and then sent us like 50 stock model images of like catalogs of outfits and looks. And being a former model, I had tons of this crap in the back of my closet. And so I just threw a bag together. I mean, big stomper boots, like 6-inch heels, very goth, And yeah, they pretty much, they had me dump my bag, and they went through and threw, a handful of things at me and said, "Go, change. This is what you're gonna wear." And like I said, having done some modeling, I had already kind of done my face up in kind of a punky, crazy color look, and had already teased and styled my hawk up real big, real fluffy. And so I guess they were pretty happy with that look. And then from there, because that was like at 5 in the afternoon, we had to wait till dark to shoot. And so that was the longest time ever to be standing around in a tent full of other people you don't know.
I would think by the time it was over, you'd know them.
Sorry, a little thirsty.
If you had to wait that long, I would think that you would have got to know a few of them by the end of it.
I hope you guys.
I think it comes on with a delay of a few seconds.
I'm so sorry. I'm just hoping you guys are hearing me and getting me clear.
We hear you very well. Just it seems that our voice is not coming through that well.
Would it interrupt anything if I bow out and try to come back in?
Possibly.
We can try that. We're actually got a problem with one of our other panelists joining, so we are looking at moving to a new hangout room. So that might solve the problem. Do we want to try that now, guys?
Sounds good to me.
Fox, were you setting that up?
Yeah, I did set the old one up. Yeah, so if you maybe Puli can set the new one up and send links also.
Apologies for this, folks. It wouldn't be an Alita Army stream if we didn't have technical issues. It's our staple now. We can't escape it.
Yeah, so some weird thing with the Hangouts. I'm not sure what it is actually. That's not actually in our power. We can only switch the rooms and that's it. You know. Okay.
Okay, cross fingers this time.
Oh, so you left and came back, right? So can you hear me, Pixie?
Yeah, much
Cool.
Excellent.
better.
Not talking to myself. Great.
I
Okay.
do it all the time.
No, it's fine. We have these issues. It's part of the stream. It wouldn't be an Alita Army stream, as I said, if we didn't have a few technical issues. So you were saying that you were a fan of the manga before you found out about the movie. When did you start reading the manga?
I had picked up a few issues over the years, probably since my 20s, and just, at the library, I'd go through one, and then, a couple years later, I'd find the second one and go through it. So it's been a few years since I've actually gone through the manga.
Are you talking about the original series?
Yes.
Cool. So was it hard not to tell anyone that you were going to be in the movie?
Basically, I could tell people that I had been an extra, but discussing the scenes, where it was shot, what actors I saw, all of that had to be basically from the time that I signed the NDA and stepped on till the movie came out. So yeah, it was tough because I don't know anyone in my circle of friends that's not a geek in some fashion, and so everybody did prod me.
Oh, you're doing well then. Good people to hang around with. So you were actually telling us about the scene that didn't make it to the movie that you were in before we started the stream. I'm going to have to ask you to repeat that again so that the viewers can catch that information.
Not a problem. So we shot in a high school football stadium in actually just north of Austin, a little bit smaller area called Round Rock. And basically, they had people park, and basically, when they say cattle call, they kind of mean it. Like, you're just standing around, no one's telling you what to do yet, you're just waiting. And there had to have been, when I showed up, there was probably about 100 people. I think by the end of the night, they had between 300 and 400 of us. And so we ended up stuff first, and they had said to a lot of us, most of you are going home. That's it. That's all we need you for. But we are looking for a few people to be in a scene. There was maybe 20 of us that got kept, and they ushered us into an area that was kind of underneath the seating, the bleachers, and it's mostly pillars and gravel. And so I guess we're trying to use it as kind of a slum area that's like maybe under or behind the motorball stadium. And they kind of made it look like a homeless encampment. They changed all of our clothes, so I was no longer in the because they had given me a jersey for the motorball scene, so they didn't want to have me match up and be recognizable. So
as being in two places in the movie, yeah.
Yeah. So we changed out of that, gave me like a grungy cyberpunk top, and we used just aerosol hair color to change up my hawk so that obviously that wouldn't look the same. And they chose me to be in a small group around a fire pit, and we were supposed to be acting like we were making a meal together. So one person had a tortilla, and we had some sausages, and we kind of, all the food would be on the grill at the beginning of the scene, obviously, and then we were kind of passing and sharing to each other and fake talking, because that's what you do. And I got to actually be seated right next to the special effects props guy who was handling our fire, with the itty bitty propane tank hidden in between us. And and this was my first time being an extra, so I guess I underestimated how many times really they go through over and over the same thing. So you're constantly hearing, all right, reposition, and you've got to like grab all the food, put the food back on the flame. And so it's hard enough to focus on that when you've got Hugo. I'm blanking on the actor's name. I apologize.
Keenan Johnson.
Thank you. And we had a female actress in a mocap suit. She was behind me the entire time, so I cannot confirm that it was Rosa or not. And so behind me was an L-shaped ramp, and so they were walking down the ramp behind me the entire time, with a rolling camera in front of them capturing their conversation. And Robert Rodriguez was there for that part as well. And he's much bigger in real life. It's crazy.
He's a big dude, is he?
I'm serious. His arm, he's huge. and he has a penchant for Ed Hardy t-shirts. Yeah, so that was the more disappointing part. I would have felt better about being skipped in the motorball scene if this scene had made it, but it did not.
So Paulie's been playing the walk into the motorball arena scene, which I think is the one that you're actually in the movie. Is that correct?
Am I the only one losing you? Is it because it seems to break up when we're talking?
Everybody loses me. Don't worry about that. How to break a pulley.
Let me see. But we can retry that question again. Hopefully, it'll make it through.
No, I was just saying that Paulie was showing the Alita and Hugo walking into the motorball arena scene. That's the one that you're in. Nope, she's frozen. Can you hear me?
I heard you say that.
Oh, good. So,
Okay, so we're
Paulie's just showing a scene of the movie where Alita and Hugo are walking into the motorball arena. That's the one that you're in?
mm-hmm. Yes, as yeah, there's the open ramp where all of the players are skating in, and I am right because the ramp goes up diagonally, and so I'm kind of on a higher step, and it's such a split second. It really is. It took us a few times, like edging back and forth to find me, but yeah, mohawk, red jersey, and you just kind of see me like, ah.
Well, everybody knows where to look. I'm not sure that we've
Okay.
actually found it yet, but Paulie's trying. I think Foxfire had a still image with his circle, didn't you, Fox?
Did I? I don't think I had that image.
Oh, maybe it was Star then, because somebody posted it somewhere during the week. I can't remember where though.
And then also another disappointing. I was actually in the scene where
Isn't that she? Like what kind of jersey she had?
Green
it was
green
like a
mohawk,
red jersey.
red jersey.
Ah,
red
it's a red
jersey
one.
with
Okay, so
lettering.
It's a green mohawk, you said, wasn't it?
Yeah.
hmm.
And of course my TV is not ultra high definition, so maybe it'll look better on someone else's screen. And then I was actually in the bleachers, but got cut out of. I was like 2 bleachers behind, so higher up above, in the scene where Christoph Waltz gets the call that Alita is being sabotaged, and he gets up and runs out.
Ah, yes.
Okay,
And,
that's a different place then. Yeah, okay.
and I was
So you're probably in the you'd be in the IMAX cut. You'd be up on the top part of the IMAX cut because the normal cuts loses part of the top and the bottom.
Wow.
So if you could, I can't think of what the term is. Does anybody remember what the term is for the full IMAX open mat? I think it's called.
Yeah.
So if we can find a copy of the open mat, we might be able to find you in that scene.
Yes. And again, so weird how they like especially in that scene being in the stadium, they just grab like 4 random people that I guess look good together and then go, okay, you guys are all friends and you're meeting up and you're gossiping and you're pointing at the field, but don't say a word.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Yeah.
you mouth,
Yeah,
you mouth
and so
words, but
because
you don't actually
obviously
say
they're
anything.
trying to help with not getting too much right, and it's there's this yeah, and there's like this girl that kind of became, I guess, my scene partner, and so they had some of us walking in while others were seated, so it looked natural, like people were meeting their friends or what have you. And so she's sitting there, and I have to come in. I'm like grabbing her shoulder, and I'm like, "Oh my god, it's like great to see you!" And we're like hugging and like toasting our drinks, and it's pantomime. It's so,
There,
so
I
odd
spotted
at the same
you.
time, but
I
fun.
spotted you.
It was a
You
lot
were
of
there
fun.
for. I just spotted you. You were there for like a point of a second. I saw the red shirt and the green mohawk. So this is when Hugo and Alita are walking into the motorball arena for the first time. Sorry to interrupt you there. I just got excited.
I know. Now I'm gonna have to go watch it again after this.
Yeah. So Paulie's actually got the open mat up, so you can actually see more height. Paulie, can you go to the scene where Christoph Waltz gets is calling Alita?
There she is.
That's the one where bingo. Yeah,
I see this was delay, so okay, there is the point. Yeah.
Cool. So Paulie, if you go to the scene where Christoph is running down to try and get Alita's attention to tell her that that it's rigged. This is when Alita's in the arena. Of course, I won't see it until 40 seconds has gone past, so I won't be able to say exactly when it is and make it make sense. You could share your screen to us, and then we'd see it live. So yes, we're all very keen on that scene that didn't make it to the movie. There was hopes that it would make it to a director's cut, but obviously the expense of doing all the CGI and everything of even one more scene was more than they were willing to spend.
Yeah, it's like thousands of dollars per second just to render Alita. So yeah, so it's.
Can you repeat that last bit?
Me, I think. Yeah. Ray, can you repeat your question?
Was it me that you didn't hear, Pixie, or was it Foxfire?
Yeah, you broke up there.
I broke up? Right, okay. So, as I was saying, we were all very keen on finding out details of that scene that didn't make it in. Can you hear me?
The funny thing is, every time that you start to say, "Can you hear me? Did you miss?" and then it cuts out.
Oh dear. Well, basically, the upshot was that the scene didn't go into any special edition because they didn't want to spend the money, thousands of dollars per second, rendering Alita in a scene just for home release. Can you hear me? Oh, she's gone. She may come back.
It's basically also the first time I see the IMAX version because I don't have it, and if I see it, I may see it in those Alita edits, but I still haven't seen the IMAX version in the full glory.
There's a lot of conjecture about it. I mean, there's a lot of people prefer the IMAX version just because there's more to see, but then there's suggestions that it draws away from the central figures in the scene because you've got all this other information that's not critical to the scene that you're seeing at the top and the bottom. So there's different opinions on whether or not the IMAX version is a better version.
I think in dialogues it might be superfluous, but in action scenes I see this as a big plus because you see more of those aerial shots and they put some effort into that. So it's actually cool to see it. Also, when you see all those landscape shots, you simply see more, and then in that regard it's better. But in dialogues, I would say it doesn't make a difference like too much.
Are you back with us now, Pixie?
I think so. It keeps dropping, so I do apologize.
Yeah. Paulie's running through the other scene that you were in, trying to see if you're in the open mat. We haven't spotted you yet, but
Did
it,
you
it,
have
may, it may be the angles.
did you
That's
have the
true.
same clothes, or did you have the same clothes in that part?
Yes. They just kind of moved me around during all of the in stadium stuff. So I was wearing the same thing. And honestly, I got moved 1, 2, 3, 4 times. So I was pretty confident I was at least going to be somewhere tiny in there, because they had moved me. In fact, the little shot you're on right now, on those railings, there was one time I was actually put behind the main railings there. So I had a few opportunities.
So did it feel surreal when you saw the final version of the movie, and you knew what you'd done, and you like sat in a stadium and been filmed a few times, and then you saw what it became in the movie? Was it sort of surreal that, oh my god, now I've gone from sitting there being filmed sitting in a stadium to being in a motorball match?
Oh no, it was insanity. We went opening weekend, IMAX 3, the whole bit, and to know that they took. Well, granted, they did say that they had done another day of filming with like 500 people. So you go from a day of 500 people in that same stadium, and now you've got 300 to 400, and how they turned that into something so massive. Yeah, I mean, it's just a credit to, people that work in, CG and graphics, movie graphics. It was awesome.
And it would be remiss of me to say that most people don't understand what is captured on the original like filming versus what is produced in the final outcome, and how much work goes into it. All they ever see is the final movie, and they don't realize the amount of work that goes in.
Oh, definitely. With having done modeling before and just having to go on a set and have one person throw an outfit at you and then your day is done. I mean, to walk in and see how many wardrobe people, makeup people, just stylists making sure everyone looks good going out. And then you had the practical effects people who were setting up the extras that would be extras wearing like cybernetics. So they had these special rubber gloves that they would have to wear all the way up their arm. And that way that could be added in post. Just what took to get that together, and then to herd people, into a waiting tent while they're getting everything set up. Yeah, I do think it's kind of underappreciated when you work in any kind of entertainment industry and have to be on the back end of it. I was still, even as much as I appreciated what I was seeing during being there, you see it on the big screen and it still blows you away. You still have so much more respect for what they all pull together to do.
Terrific. Thanks for giving us that insight. So did you get to meet any of the stars? Did you, or were you a long way away from most of those guys?
I didn't. They really kept to themselves. They had their own separate craft tent, for their meals, and their trailers were parked kind of behind that, so they, didn't have far to go and didn't have to interact with a lot of people. when they provided us with dinner, it was again back in like that holding tent, and we were kind of shuttered over there to eat. Yeah, I don't think really anybody interacted. I mean, my favorite interactions honestly were with crew. I've just always been one of those people that can, hey, how are you? What's up? How's it going? What do you do around here? So, I think I hung out with like 3 or 4 members of the crew and just kind of talked shop.
Cool. So we had Selena Leon, who was a body double for Rosa Salazar on a couple of weeks ago. Did you see her at all during your time on set?
Like I said, the one chance I would have had to have seen her was in the cut scene when Hugo and Alita are walking behind me, and the actress was in full mocap. So other than this much face, and like I said, they were kind of going behind me the entire time and down. So that may have been her that night if she remembers, shooting in Austin and when that might have been.
It's a bit hard to tell. You're not allowed to turn around and check out what's going on.
Yeah, like you can't really oh, hey, Robert Rodriguez right there. Oh, oops. Can't really bust up the scene because you're trying to check out his biceps.
So how did you feel about the mixed reviews that Alita got on release? And how do you feel about how it's being treated now?
At the time, I think that there were aren't too many critics out there that are true fans of sci-fi, true fans of anime. And so if you don't understand that culture, then you're going to grade this film as if it's some high profile Hollywood film. And I didn't think that was very fair. I did see a few articles that, gave the movie a great review, despite pointing out some of the differences from the original story and how certain things were emphasized over others. And I think those articles are fine. But as far as now, the more of my friends that have seen it and, just thought they were going to pop in a movie just because their friend was in it, and then to actually really enjoy it. And, that makes me happy. And I hope that helps grow us beyond a cult film culture, because I don't think it's getting, obviously the platform it deserves. But if we can get the sequel, then I think that will really solidify it as this is not just a anime sci-fi genre film. So did I answer?
No, that's fine. We feel much the same way in a sort of roundabout sense.
Yeah, that's really great. Like I could see that a lot of people that enjoyed the first movie were hesitant to fully invest into that franchise because of their problem that they don't know if there will ever be a sequel. Like you see the ending of the movie and you think like, I need to have a sequel, but you don't want to disappoint yourself. You don't want set yourself up for disappointment. So people were like, okay, that's great, but I will lower my excitement for now and just wait if they ever do a sequel, and then I might invest. And that's a problem or a spot where the movie is now, I feel, with a lot of people who would love to jump that thing, but without a sequel announcement, it will be hard to get more and more of them. They're too reluctant, but still it's growing. Still a lot of people wish for a sequel, and still a lot of people want to invest, but there are a few on the fans that we need to get over to. and they would join if we get a sequel.
Well, it's our mission to make sure that people don't forget Alita. The long dark times between home release and a sequel announcement. That's the bit we're filling up with Alita going forward, making sure that she's not forgotten and keeping her in the mind of the studio execs as well.
Definitely.
She's not going to end up under the rug if we have anything to say about it.
That's true.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's too good of a story not to continue. I did have a
Exactly.
question for you guys, though.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
What, I mean, you think that Alita's story could survive as a series, considering that a lot of studios don't even want to think about films right now? There's no theaters, there's no people. So what do you think? Could it even survive as a series? And do you think that would get maybe more people to jump on the army?
I think it would be great as a series. One idea that I had was, continuing some of the story as a series, and as the U.S. opens up, as the virus dies down and the economy start coming back, within that series we can drop in movies scattered throughout it. I don't know, like best way to explain it would be like, say maybe we fill in the Japan arc with series, maybe I would prefer an anime, honestly, or maybe a Disney Plus series. Those look like they're having some pretty good quality right now. And then the next part of the story that's already been past that part of the series would be a giant movie, kind of like the way, I guess Dragon Ball is doing it right now. I'm not sure if anyone's familiar with that, but there's story that is in the anime, then there's story that's done by movies, and then after that, the anime continues where the movie left off. Then another movie, then more anime. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
I kind of had a thought that the movie should really be more focused on Alita, having like Alita Battle Angel, Alita Fallen Angel, Alita Avenging Angel. But then if
those would be
Disney,
like the larger stories, and then you can
yeah,
fill in the middle with like Den and the Barjack. What's going on over there? The figure four,
you
that
can
kind of stuff.
probably also, if Disney want to do stuff on Disney Plus, you can also do maybe like a
Mhm.
Japan series or something, mainly focusing on him, and then we actually get more development. We don't need to focus on his development in the movies because we've seen the series. And then you can maybe do some prequel stuff with Hugo, with past stuff with Ido, and there's many series you can do probably on Disney Plus as well.
Also, there is a 10 years gap that isn't even explored by Kishiro himself, that basically could fill up with something cool in that time, so that you can make a series even just about that. And you had all those, the Barjack action and the everything that is like outside of Iron City. Yeah, who knows what you can explore there.
So basically, to answer your question in the most straightforward way, I think that if they want to do this correctly, I mean, they could, like I said. So in the end of my video, I said, are we just going to see the average one or two sequels, or is this going to turn into a large franchise? And I think the only proper way to tell this story, to answer your question in the most straightforward way, a series is absolutely necessary to telling the story correctly. However, I would settle for either or, but in my opinion, series and films, period.
I agree. I feel like if Disney are going to do it, they should do it the way Star Wars is doing it, really. Having their big films focus on one story, but then have their more short series that can focus on another aspect that they want to tell. If you can do the same with Alita, showing Japan, maybe some past of Vito, or
McTeague spin-off.
anyone.
Maybe even a prequel of the war, and just
I always had the thought that the sequel to Battle Angel, Fallen Angel, could be a prequel to Battle Angel, where it mainly focuses about the fall, because you think Fallen Angel is she's going to fall to Iron City and everything, and then after that you can do Avenging Angel, which is then her avenging the one she's lost, as a sequel to Battle Angel. So in chronological order, it'll go Fallen Angel, Battle Angel, Avenging Angel, and then other films if they want to do it.
no, that's a damn good idea.
Rob Rodriguez, hire me. I'm available.
When you think about this, we got this covered article. The second one, not after the one where they started with the sequel speculation, they talked about this prequel, and that this is something that could be also very interesting because of the war. That is because you see something similar with the Clone Wars, and they are. It seems something to be that Disney could be especially interested there because there's a lot of action. There's a lot of world building going on. That's also pretty cool what Clone Wars did manage, because Clone Wars was such an opener in terms of world building. It brought so many things into Star Wars just because of that series.
You can also think about Mandalorian as well. You can think the parallels with Alita in the Western world with... I'm going to be killed for not knowing the series and the people. But having that arc kind of put into a series, maybe giving a backstory to it, and then you have it in a film. So it mainly, I think the series could give you more ties into developing something, to give more time for the films to like impress us with action scenes and actual development we want to see, and not filling stuff like what The Rise of Skywalker was doing. It was filling in so much development that, and so many trying to fix so many problems that The Last Jedi caused, is that it just made the film super fast paced and super confusing. You have to watch it multiple times to understand everything. But if you can put it into a series and develop your world base and the characters base you're not going to see, then you can focus on having the film being a bit slower and actually having a film to enjoy instead of working on constantly developing stuff.
Yeah.
There's also arguments about having to go outside of the movie to get enough information to follow what's happening.
Yes.
So there's that argument as well.
I do feel like the film can be left on its own in a way. It's obviously gone for a sequel, but I feel like it basically gives you everything you know about Iron City. Zalem's a mystery, but it's supposed to be because we're not in that setting. We know Alita's character very well. We've watched the development, and we know where she's going to go, in her sense of her skill and everything. And we get kind of all the arcs that we kind of needed to see. It's just really it's like really the Battle Angels mainly for the foundations, for the structure, and the next films are just making the walls and the doors and the glass panes and etc. to make the entire structure for the Alita series. I made it sound really confusing.
Well, there's lots of ways they could jump. Let's hope they start jumping in some direction. We need some more material.
Yes.
Anything Alita.
Well, we've got all the material we need. We just need people to jump on it and basically, as I said, stop being risk-averse pussies. Take the risk on this franchise and do
it. Yes, completely right.
Well, I mean, I don't know how many of you are familiar with Repo, the Genetic Opera, but I mean, they refused to put any money into that marketing, and it's beyond a cult classic. It's basically the next Rocky Horror. You know, you just have, if you're going to do it, don't half-ass it. Commit, put the marketing, you know, let the people have the sequel they want.
Top.
Exactly. Give the people what they want. I think we've rattled that cage a few times, haven't we, guys?
I think Warner Brothers has started to realize that this is a good thing. Now the others have to understand too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like everyone who was involved in the first film knows, following the fan base and how it's grown, shows that even if it's just down to money in a way, I suspect that the second film could double what the first film's got in profit.
Easily.
Considering how widely spread it was, and
especially overseas.
Oh yeah, definitely. If you think about it, like most of the money came from China, and the domestic value was not too high, sadly.
But I think for the next one, the most potential and growth would be in the domestic market, because the bad name the first one had just wore off completely while people were watching the movie. So the most growth would be actually in the domestic market, while the Chinese market is so it's not the most reliable at the moment. So it can be huge next time, but we should try to focus on getting the domestic market up, and the others that are not in that particular situation of China.
All right, guys. So thank you very much for your insights, Pixie. That was terrific. We should probably move on to our other topic. Did you want to hang around? Did you want to hang around for the critiquing the critics? God, that's hard to say. Pixie, did you want to hang around for that? Cool. Okay, you're on board. Excellent. We've still got to get Vladdy in here. That's going to be the trick.
If I don't lag out, drop out.
Sure. So if you lag out, just drop out and come back in again. We can.
What do I look like to you guys right now?
You still look the same as normal.
I still look the same as normal. What do the rest of you see?
On stream, we see you as the last 300, but here in our chat, you're like a bit different.
Oh, so no, everyone sees my regular face. No one sees who I am today. That sucks.
Yeah, the guy who gives me anxiety just watching it at him.
Now, just before we go on to the main topic, we jumped over the news, so we better just knock that one out quickly.
Mhm.
So, shooting through the news posts, we had 2 fundraisers this week, and I was blown away by the generosity of the Leader Army, I've got to say. Thank you guys so much. I know that Foxfire and Star Rebellion were very busy putting together that Tilly Lockie fundraiser video for the money that she needed to get her video of her life out. And that was funded within 24 hours by the Alita Army. Well done, guys. And also Foxfire was very busy with help from various other people putting together a billboard fundraiser for a billboard that's going to go up in, well, I should say the billboard's already there, but it's a digital billboard. So the video clips are going to go up on that early next month, is it, Fox?
Yeah, the videos will go up by June. That billboard campaign had to be put pretty quickly together because the idea behind that is that based on the articles we got and John Lander's reaction, there's a good chance that such sequel talks could happen in any time very soon. And also it's a good time to get to rattle the cage once more after we did it in the Oscar, with the playing of the Oscars, that we do it now again. And yeah, so this week I talked with a company to give us a platform in Los Angeles. So we had different cities in mind, but in the end, Los Angeles was a good pick. It would have been either Los Angeles or Texas, but they had the better billboards in Los Angeles and could reach more people in that town at that moment. And yeah, I talked with this guy, and he told me that in that billboard he gave me, that the area has still around like 70% of the traffic that is available, which is still plenty for that region he gave me. So it's a very busy crossroad in a Koreatown, and it's on top of a high building, so people can walk past there, or you can stop by. They can as passengers. So this billboard is not on a highway where you have no time to pull out your phone and make a photo. It's in the middle of the city. That was important for me. Initially, I thought about doing this in New York, but New York is too it's not just exclusive, but it's basically harder to set anything up in the moment. It's just the situation doesn't allow it. So, but LA is kind of better, or in a better spot. And by June, beginning of June, it should even improve more. And yeah, that was the setup. And I wanted to, if there are any sequel talks happening now, that we support John Lando in his effort. and that's the reason why I set it up, and that's the situation we are now. So
what we normally do with these sorts of campaigns is any overfunding goes to charity, but you decided to do it slightly differently with this one. Do you want to just run through that?
Yeah, when we closed out the campaign, there was I must say honestly that we closed after we got our target. We closed that campaign a little bit too early, and usually it's a good thing to collect or fund so that you can take that money and put it in a good cause that fits into the time we are in. And last time it was a great thing to put it towards Open Bionics, and for now it's actually a good thing to help people that are got in trouble because of COVID, for example. And so we closed it early, and then next day I saw this article from Cinema Blend, and I read that one passage where this writer said, like, Alita Army, this is a perfect opportunity. If you are doing something now, then collect something on top of it and just help people. It's a great thing, and it's a great opportunity simply for everybody. So I was like thinking about, damn, okay, we shouldn't have closed that too early. And there was also people came up later to me and say, like, I wanted to donate something, even though I'm overfunding, but I wanted to help, and you should have let people decide it for themselves, etc. So I was like, okay, what can we do? The thing what we can do is like put in a fourth clip. We have 3 clips already, so that are running alternatingly, and we wanted to, as an idea, put a fourth one in that is a call to action. That where we ask people to support Rosa Salazar's campaign to help homeless people that are in Los Angeles because of COVID and that are getting hungry. And she has also a guy she's in contact with that has put together an Amazon wish list where you can basically buy for those people everything they need to survive the next time. And so we thought, okay, that's a good thing that we could raise money for. And the way we do it is basically by this 4th video we call to action. And I would like to set up a fundraiser at the time where the billboard is online. So with that billboard, we would have even more attention also going on and could funnel that into this campaign from and help more people as we could usually do with our own means, because we can use that billboard and we can also advertise that on Twitter, and so we might even help more people in that time.
It makes a lot more sense to do it at the time of the billboard, because rather than the Alita Army giving a little bit of extra money to this cause, you'll actually be running fundraising for the cause during the billboard. So it'll be local to the people who are seeing it, and it'll get more attention because there'll be news articles about it as well. So I think that it's actually going to do more than what we could do as a bit of overfunding. So I think that's a terrific idea.
Yes. That's a cool thing. People were even coming up to me and asking me if we could even do our mass tweet in that time. Personally, I wouldn't have the capacity now to organize that. That's just over me. But if people come together and orchestrate such a mass tweet in the time of the billboards, it would be a massive support, and you would even get more people out of Twitter towards that campaign and support people in LA, and even maybe do more for COVID in general. But that would be a good boost too. But in general, even if that doesn't happen, just the billboard itself and the noise we do on Twitter will be plenty to get more attention into this cause. And it would help also Rosa out. It would help the guy out that I don't know his name. Sorry, I've not his name in his mind, but it would help him out too. And they are basically now on the streets and supporting those people and distribute the tents, the food, and all the stuff you need. So I think that would be a good sign when we show that we are behind them.
Yep, I think it's a good cause, and it's terrific work that you're doing there, Fox.
Thank you.
So
And the
that was
mass
funded.
tweets don't have
That
to
was
go.
funded in
They don't have to
12
go
hours,
trending.
guys.
What?
Sorry, what was that? 300?
Oh, I was just gonna say that I just really wanted to add in that the mass tweets don't have to trend. You know what I mean? This just has to link to something that people can find actionable. That's just my opinion.
As you mean, those mass tweets need a purpose. That's what you mean.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they see the videos that are up on the billboard, then they see something that they can immediately look on their phone and connect to and do something, whether it's donating, whether it's tweeting themselves and supporting the sequel, and just showing that there is a mass grassroots groundswelling of wanting to help and wanting to get the sequel.
Yeah, that's the reason why I brought the mass tweet up, because if you are doing mass tweets on its own, it feels purposeless. But basically, mass tweets emerge because there are news, because there's something happening in the world that impacts the whole entirety of Twitter. That's the reason why trends exist. So
Exactly.
if you are producing a mass tweet without news, it defeats its own purpose. So that's the reason why so having something like a billboard running that is connected with a humanitarian cause, that's our news that works for that mass tweet. So yeah, good point that you bring it up.
Think about how many times you look at the trending section and it's connected to a picture of the news. You see what I'm saying? So imagine it'll be Alita sequel, and then they'll show a picture of the billboard, or it'll be help Alita, or whatever the other hashtag would be, and it'll be a picture of Rosa, helping the homeless. So having that picture connected to the tweet, connected to something actionable, and the billboard and the charity, I just think that works.
Yeah. As Charles Schmidt just pointed out, we need also to get somebody there that makes the photos. But I think a few people of us also live in that town and can get out and make a few photos or videos there.
Yeah, he can pick that up.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's all good work that you're doing, boys and girls. So keep it up. We've got to keep Alita in the news, and we've got to keep helping people. That's what the Alita Army does. Okay, moving on, because we still haven't got to our main topic. I just want to buzz through these really quick. So Robert Rodriguez has directed a music video, Rain on Me, and it debuts featuring Lady Gaga and Ariana Grande. So that's one that's up on our news at the moment. There's actually a video clip if you want to go and check that out. We've talked about the Billboard campaign. That was a fantastic effort, and we're looking forward to that starting. Pretty sure that everybody who was on Twitter went absolutely nuts over the pre-orders for the officially licensed Alita Battle Angel Mofig. That's become available. So if you haven't checked that out already, check that out. I've got mine pre-ordered. Zooming along, we talked about Tilly Lockie's biographical animation project, which is going ahead, funded by the Alita Army. Well done, guys.
Can anybody put this on screen so that people can see it?
Oh, yeah, I really should share that. My apologies. Damn it, I've got so many windows open. Which one is it? That one. There we go. Okay, so Dolby Cinema asked during the week, what movie would you like to see in theaters again? This was a big one. We jumped on that one. Lots of people were posting about Alita there. We also think that Alita is a good choice. There's a lot of people out there now who saw it, picked it up on streaming, and really wish they'd seen it on the big screen, because it's obviously a really good cinema experience. It's not just a movie that you watch; it's actually an experience. So I do think that we should all be able to get out there again and see Alita on the big screen in Dolby 3D. Would be terrific. So hopefully that one will come forward. There's people in the Alita Army who've been phoning up the cinema complexes and the cinema chains, and putting a little bit more pressure on in that fashion to try and make that happen. So if you have an opportunity to jump on a tweet about that, or have an opportunity to contact the cinema, let them know. The more times they get pinged about these things, the more chance there is for it to happen. Okay, John Landau sent out an Alita sequel message to the Alita Army. Everybody wants that T-shirt. I know I want one.
I just read this article too.
Did you? What did you think?
It is. No, I thought it was cute. I think it's sweet that, again, he's just promoting that idea that everyone that worked on it is excited to do it again. Why are we not doing this? So I think this was a great way, a little nod for, excuse me, nod for him to kind of blast on Instagram, like, hey, come on, guys.
Yeah, well, we took it as a sign that we need to rattle the cage a bit more. That's how the Billboard campaign came about. In fact, from this and the article suggesting that there may be Alita talks going on behind the scenes in Hollywood at the moment. So, without having a very clear message, we still think that this was a message. So, we take the hints and run with them because that's what we got to do.
We're optimists.
It keeps the hope alive.
Yes.
Well, we're not giving up. Every day is a step forward. So Cinema Blend reported about new orders incoming for the Alita Army. Basically what we do every day. So we're not planning on stopping. But they just said we've actually got an Alita advocate in Cinema Blend now, so they're always keen to drop a little hint about pushing for the sequel. So this is the rumor about we got this covered, rumors about Disney considering a Alita sequel. We don't know in what fashion yet. We don't know any other information than this little suggestion here. So
what's noteworthy? But what is noteworthy about this is that they had recently the same source that predicted Percy Jackson and Robin Hood and Bambi, and they're all coming now. Has made the prediction about Alita 2. So the chance that this source is right is actually pretty high. Considerably high.
The reason why we shared this one instead of just sharing the other ones is because, like you mentioned, there was a record there, a track record of them being right in the past. We're not completely, we're not saying that it's going to happen, that it's true, but just that it was more, it was, you couldn't just leave it. You had to say something about it, put it out there. You had to share it just in case it turns out to be that they're right. The others that we looked at, they come out every day, but they just don't have any sort of history, anything that we can look at and say where's the information coming from, what kind of track record do they have. There's just nothing there. So this one though was a little bit different. So we just went ahead and reported it, and that's it. Take it with a grain of salt. Nobody's saying that it's going to come true. We're just sharing it because it looks credible somewhat, and that's pretty much it.
Thank you, Saravellian. So that's our news for this week. Some very interesting news. Whenever you think that things have quietened down about Alita, they just keep coming on through. And that's from the tireless work of Saravellian and other guys who are always trolling the internet looking for these reports. It's tireless work, it's hard work, and I really appreciate you guys for doing it. I rely on you guys to find out more stuff than I could possibly find out on my own. You guys have got it down to a fine art, so thank you very much for doing that. Okay, so I believe that the intention now is to dissolve this Google Hangout and start a new one to try and get Vladdy777 on here, and then we can get stuck into the critics. I mean, we can look at what the critics have been saying. So if you could put the hold music on for a minute or so, Paulie, and then we can sort that out. And we are back, I think. I hope. Yay for technological issues. Yes. Our apologies, Alita Army. We are struggling. There's always one person that can't get onto the chat, so being very rude for us. Okay, so the main topic, reviewing the critics' reviews of Alita Battle Angel. Now, I'm going to say up front that I think this is going to get spicy. Be prepared. There may be, adult language and things like that, and strong opinions. So we'll just move forward with that feeling. So I'm going to give a very, very quick overview, and I'm going to let you guys go for it because I know that you've got lots of things to say. But basically, Alita was bad-mouthed by the critics in general when she came out.
Oh, there she is.
Hey, we got a pixie.
Yay! She's back.
So Alita, we haven't got Star of Elian though. Is Elian the one that can't get in now? Yeah. So Alita was bad-mouthed when the picture came out. I feel that now the tide has turned, though, since the home release and the building of the fan base through all the people picking it up through streaming. That and of course the growth of popular opinion and reporter opinion. We've got now some reporters that are really on board. They've seen the movie a few times. They understand what we understand from the very beginning, but they've finally got on board. And I feel that the bandwagon has turned and is going towards Alita now. So we do have some positive things that we can say about what some of the critics are saying now, but obviously the original critics' reviews were not that popular.
Yeah,
and now I'm going
to... it was as low as 38%, wasn't it, on Rotten Tomatoes?
Yeah, initially
it started out that low. Yeah,
and that's when it counts, like the first week.
Yeah, you have to decide between.
Hello, by the way, sorry, I was late.
You have also to discern between those. There are core critics, and there are like an auxiliary sort of critics, and those core critics are sitting in those preview or in those first releases. They get invited there to watch the movie, and the other critics watch the movie most times later. So their opinions are important, but not as much as those core critics from New York Times, from Rolling Stones magazine, etc. And those people like trash Alita are pretty hard, like those core critics. Yeah.
How many times did we sit back and go, we read a review and went, did you even watch the movie? Your review has nothing whatsoever to do with the content.
And there's just like a lot of them have just basic mistakes. Like there's this one star review, and he was calling Iron City Iron Town, and he was getting all kinds of spelling wrong, and it was just you could just tell that they didn't care. They didn't give it a chance.
And really, I question like how many of them are just like truly like bloggers that get good hit counts, and so they accept themselves as journalists, like they really have something to contribute, but it's really you just again clickbaiting your audience into believing your opinion of a film.
Yes. Yeah, but there are a few of them who could think exactly like that. Like they somehow get invited to those releases, and you wonder why their view of the movie is so narrow, and everything else that is not part of this worldview just gets severely trashed. Like, I see what you mean.
And the thing is, with a new franchise like Alita, no one really knew what it was. They hadn't heard of it. It kind of needs a bit of support. I know that you shouldn't. There's no obligation for them to support it, but when it's like so good, you think they'd give it some credit, something new, and
give it a chance. Don't kill it as a seedling. Give it a chance to grow.
Like something like Transformers. Everyone knows what that is, even before the movies came out. That bad critic reviews don't hurt that. But something new like Alita, it just doesn't. It was just really harsh on it, and it just seemed really unfair.
I think it had a lot to do with the timing. The very last release of 20th Century Fox before they, were eaten lock, stock, and barrel by Disney.
Gobbled up.
Yes, and I have no proof to this, but it's just a feeling, and I think there was a bandwagon that somebody at Disney, it may not have been the execs, but somebody decided to put the word out, rag this movie. We want it to fail so that the value of Fox goes down a bit and we get a better deal.
Maybe.
I have to make a commercial break before we talk any further,
yes,
because of this little baby that I have here on. This wants to get a new owner.
It's just so pretty.
Yes, look at that. She needs a new home.
Didn't that cover win a poll for best movie poster? I'm pretty sure that one won a movie poster poll for the best movie poster.
It's really the prettiest steelbook of Alita that's out there, and it needs a new owner. And for that, I made a giveaway, and I had a lot of entries for that, and I wrote down every name of it who wanted to be part of it, and on paper, and they are in this Tron Legacy cup that I have here. Can you look at it? They are all here. That's I've got it from the cinema back then, so I still have it for 10 years now. So. Yeah, and
can I interject
what?
real quick, because you brought up that awesome cup?
Yeah.
When they had us in the studio scenes, they had these motorball light up neon cups that we were using in the scene, and everyone was trying to walk out with the one, to steal one just to have it, and they literally marched us out in a line taking everything from us. So your cool cup reminded me of that. They were so cool.
I love it.
Why did they release that as merch though? You gotta wonder.
I know.
That's where you go in and you think, okay, can I have this backpack as as part of my costume? I think that would be nice. It's no, not the stealing. No.
So now I have all those names here inside. I would like to draw one out so that we have a lucky winner, and I want
to draw mine out if you want.
Huh?
You can draw my name out if you want.
Yeah. And yours is in 30 times,
Yes.
So I will check that through, and I will also go through the post of that person that what he wrote, because I put in 2 questions: what he thinks about Alita, and what if he would watch a re-release at the time. When it ever comes out, if we ever get a re-release, I wanted just to get their opinion, so I made the Twitter tweet, and I've pulled out our name. So let's watch who it is. Okay, we got a winner. I'm not sure if you can see it, but his call is Nabil Nordin. So we have a winner.
Can I change my name to Nabil Nordin?
Let me look for what he wrote. I'm not sure. He has, of course, made a post. Yeah, I found it. He did write, if a re-release is happening, I would love to watch it in theaters, as I did not watch the movie there in any format. Alita, however, is very underrated because nobody knew about her, and she has a lot of heart, and the sweet demeanor makes everyone root for her in a unique way. So that's our winner.
Well said, very well said.
So you got now this Blu-ray. So congratulations.
He's gonna have to send you an address so you can ship it.
Yeah. He should better write me a DM if he sees that, and I will send it to him his way.
Give him 2 days, and if he doesn't get back to you, redraw it, man.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah, I will take hand of that cup.
That cup stays with me. No way you get that.
Dear. Well, thank you very much for doing that. I think that is our first giveaway on stream.
Yeah,
so that's cool.
The first one. Yeah,
excellent.
Yeah,
It's a week of firsts. So that's cool. Okay, so I apologize for not jumping on that first. I completely forgot. Being so focused on the critics and how much they reviled our girl.
Now you can think the thieves in.
So I do know that Star of Alien has a several-page document with a lot of stuff on it. Star, do you want to start with some of your points?
Oh,
Is it there?
well, you can actually go down the list, and I mean, I wouldn't even really know. I kind of got it arranged from bad to
Yeah.
so
I've got 'em
and down to
ordered from-
good.
I've got them ordered from top down, from top to bottom. If you want to go from top to
Yeah.
bottom.
Yeah. Okay. I guess
So
I'll
the
go
okay,
do you see it?
okay, so yeah, do you want me to open these up and show them and
I've
just
got them all. I can get them all.
right? Yeah, just start running through them, Paulie.
Well, please, I think your audio is not that great, so I guess I would probably have to. I don't know. Yeah.
Well, Star, it's
So
your document. We don't often hear from you, so I think that it would be good for you to. You'd probably be the most succinct and on point with these reviews, being our news guy.
maybe,
So
maybe
give it a
I don't
shot.
know. So the first one that I had on the list was from not the Rolling Stone, but Rolling Stone, and it was called Alita Battle Angel, a cyber heroine story way past its sell-by date. And I wasn't exactly sure what the writer meant by that. I think maybe he was just trying to say that, like Scott Mendelson has said, it was sort of a 90s style movie or whatever. And or maybe it represented a more 90s ideology, or you know what I'm trying to say. And I guess
Which
it's
is
just
something
it's
I
old
like about it.
fashioned, Yeah, maybe it's
Yeah.
just old fashioned.
Or
Yeah,
maybe
and
it just wasn't
maybe that's what they.
Hollywood enough for them.
also
I
this.
remember that article. They were
Yeah.
saying how it's a 90s style feminism, and there was another one that's a great companion piece to it where they talked about how James Cameron should never write another female character again. And I just thought
But
about Alien and
there were so
Terminator.
many. There were so many of those. I
But,
didn't. I
I
didn't.
think in that regard, it could also be meant that the sci-fi that is represented is still is somewhat old-fashioned, because the ideas they had in the 90s were completely different to what we have now. So that could be also meant with it. So you have to give it the benefit of the doubt in that, just regarding the headline.
Yeah, and this one was published on the 12th, and this is one of those big like I think it was Foxfire who was saying that there were the main critics, and then you have like these other lesser critics, basically. Well, this I guess would be one of the main outlets where people would see a review for a movie and make up their mind about whether or not they're going to go see it. And it came out right before the movie, and that probably did a lot of damage. It didn't do terribly on the opening weekend, but Alita probably could have done better without this coming out before it even hit the theater, a couple of days before actually. And I don't know if you guys want to read through these or not, or just
Yeah, actually, we could. Yeah.
I just had a quick question as to the remark that the reporter said about it feeling 90s and probably nostalgic or something to that effect. It did anybody see Ready Player One? Because
Oh yes.
I was less impressed with that film, and that was what, a Spielberg film.
Yeah, it was people.
So
That was pure nostalgia, wasn't it?
Yeah, Ready Player One
Yeah.
played the nostalgia card from the opening scene to the closing credits. I got to say.
with still trying to be, oh, we're in the future, we jack into the Matrix, blah blah blah. But again, they get Spielberg behind it, and I guess that greases some wheels. I don't know.
Definitely.
Yeah. Puli,
Yeah,
you might share your screen so that we can read through that article and picked out the interesting parts. So I think it's better to go it that way.
Paulie, can you share your screen to us as well so that we can see it live?
Yeah.
I think that's what.
And I'm sorry I couldn't go through each one and just pick out certain things to say from each, because I was just already busy with something else. But Not trying to make excuses, but I could have done this better. That's all I'm saying.
That's no problem. We can either go to those synopses of those articles or just pick up random random packages or random parts.
There was trends in the negative comments. As I mentioned earlier, there were the ones that just were like, "Did you even see the movie?"
Yeah.
That were very much, they're jumping on the bandwagon. There's a push to kill this movie, and they're obviously, anybody who has actually seen it knows that they're full of shit, and there's no other way to put it. Then there were those that just had a bad opinion about it, actually had a basis for that. Of course, we didn't agree with them, and it has been said that, you know, a good percentage of those, you know, maybe even more than 2/3, were not into the genre. So they really shouldn't have been reviewing that genre in the first place because they couldn't represent it correctly. It's like, you know, a person who reviews ballet reviewing a sci-fi movie. It's like, it's not your thing, dude. You don't understand it. You don't understand where it's coming from. You don't understand how it's put together. You don't understand what it's saying. It's like me trying to review something in German. I wouldn't have a hope. And I wouldn't try, but these people got up there and passed an opinion and put it out to the world. I can give a perfect example. My sister read in the local newspaper in a little town called Albury in New South Wales. She read the local review that gave it 2 stars. And basically it was a bandwagon review, just rabbiting the same stuff that had been said in other things where it had been put down. And I said, "So you're going to go see it?" She goes, "No, it only got 2 stars. And I'm like, they didn't understand it. Go and see it. And she still hasn't seen it to this day because of that review. And that's the thing that really saddened me, that she took the word of somebody she didn't know over her own brother.
Okay.
Because it's a critic.
Yeah. Yeah, I tried to get my brothers to see it as well. And they were hesitant because of the critic score. But I took them to see it and they enjoyed it.
I might go through. I found some points in the article I would go through. So I shared my screen. That's really, if you read all that stuff again, it gets really annoyed again because they start right with the first paragraph. It starts with a trashing. Yeah. So you can see my screen now. I shared it with you. Yeah.
Oh my God.
You go there and it's like, the first sentence, Cameron didn't direct.
B movie maestro.
Yeah.
B movie.
Yeah, he's like Yukito Kishiro's manga comic. So Cameron didn't direct this cyberpunk epic adapted by Yukito Kishiro manga's comics himself. One with a reported budget of 200 million, heavy lifting from Peter Jackson's FX team. So whether he handed off that job to B movie maestro Robert Rodriguez. That's already a knockdown of the movie, like in the first paragraph, without even going into any of the details of the movie itself.
Well,
Yeah.
and right, and if you've seen any of the behind the scenes stuff, you know, or interviews, Cameron was still very hands-on. This was not something where he was like, it's a good script, here you go, bro. Like, he's obviously there in behind the scenes footage, extras on the DVD. I mean, he's there.
Yeah, and then he proceeds to telling, but Titanic's King of the World produced and co-wrote the screenplay with Alita Calogridis, and his grandiose touches all over it. You decide if it's a fair trade-off. So basically he's saying, yeah, Rodriguez directed it, but basically he's a puppet. And he's also saying that Calogridis' part was negligible because he was all over it. So what could Alita Calogridis have added onto it? So basically the wording is all set up. Yeah. So, and yeah, we can go on. So he's basically narrating the first part of it. So, and that's also a cool part here. One of the dreamers is Dyson Ido, a doctor whose specialty is cyber repair. As Terminator name checks go, that's a bingo. It's a talent that comes in handy when he finds a discarded half-human, half-bot girl who's been left in pieces and suffer from a serious case of amnesia. Okay, so far. Then he goes over the next part. I think it is. distractions that come up from it here. Yeah, that part is also interesting. Actress Rosa Salazar does a fine motion capture job, so he's actually recommending that, playing the reconstructed Alita, except for the distractions that come from a digital makeover that gives her huge cartoon-like peepers, so eyes, and the smooth, pull-tight skin of a plastic surgery addict. It works for the role, sort of. Like he's always
Yeah.
already knocking
This
it.
If
sounds
he
like
had directed
jealousy
just
to me. Like,
one
I want
manga, he would have had.
this is hatred. This is pure jealousy.
Yeah, they do use degrading language, like when he called her like a bot girl.
Yeah,
It's like, what it seems personal. It doesn't
yeah.
even
I
seem
mean,
like
listen,
being
her face is
professional.
artificial in the story. So what else do you want? You know what I mean? Like she literally has an artificial face. I mean, you see her head is cracked and everything. So what else does he want? It sounds like jealousy. That's not a point of how good the writing is. It's a point of, man, that thing kind of looks good. I wish I looked like that.
And it's getting better. How does all this goes to the shell-defying work for the movie as a whole? So basically saying it's a Ghost of a Shell, Ghost in the Shell ripoff, yeah? So it's basically saying that. That's another question. Despite the lack of originality, the setup holds a lot of promise, and Rodriguez and Cameron keep it visually exciting, especially when Alita starts regaining her old combat-ready memories and her killer instincts begin kicking in again. Plus, Waltz and Salazar add a warmth to their characters that make you eager to know more of the backstories. Instead, it's lovey-dovey alert when our heroine meets Hugo, a human boy of surpassing blandness. If a loaf of Wonder Bread write love scenes, might sound like the glowing flirtations between these two teams. So, of course, the love story gets trashed completely. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah.
In my opinion, when a lot of them were watching it, they were just thinking of snappy lines to write, like about Cameron or about the eyes.
Yeah.
It was just this whole sort of circle jerk that like mounted up against the film, and they were just, yeah, they all just had their talking points.
You mean the low hanging fruit?
Well,
Have some kind of political thing.
well, I mean, like you said, there already seems to be a personal stream to this because, first of all, let's break this down. He's basically naming each character and giving them a small bit of a descriptor. He hints on two of the relative relationships, but doesn't go into depth. So again, it's like, did he watch the damn movie?
Yeah.
Or did he read the box art?
It doesn't get any better
so
from here.
No.
Yeah, so like he goes on with, luckily Hugo gets Alita involved with a game of motorballs, a national pastime in Iron City. It's a brutal roller derby that can get you killed or win you a ticket to Salem. At first, these scenes fly off the screen thanks to the kinetic energy of the filmmaking. So at least he is giving Vedder a bit of credit. Then things start to drag, not just from repetition, but from convoluted plotting. It seems that Ito's ex-wife, Chiron, a sinister but fashionable Jennifer Connelly, is conspiring with the villainous Vector, Mahershala Ali, working way below his considerable talents to fix the game with cyber athletes. Why? There's a higher power in that city in the skies that wants it so. Right at the end, we see that the Godhead is played by an Oscar-nominated actor whose identity won't be spoiled here. So Marshall's part also gets dragged down. So it's like he has nothing to do. So yeah, what's the point of him being there? And the last bracket is like
I want to comment on that part.
Yeah, if you want to read it.
Well, if you're in a groove, I'll just go ahead and let you read it, and I just
okay. Then you give your ideas. What's also clear to see, and it's a bummer, is that Alita Battle Angel isn't really a movie at all. Rather, it's a fragment, a framework for a sequel or a series of sequels that it's hard to imagine any audience demanding. Wow. Even those moments when the movie rolls itself to cinematic vigor are followed by padding and recycling. Cameron has been trying to get a leader story on screen for 2 decades. No wonder it feels wobbly and worked over. Back then, it might have played like gangbusters. But now, after a deluge of comic book epics and other CGI-filled sci-fi fantasies, the movie feels like it's way past its sell-by date. Alita Banjo Angel looks ready to rock, but time has sucked the life out of the
Oh my
party.
god.
I'm sorry, but for the last decade, all of those CGI sci-fi franchises just weren't interesting to me. But this one nailed it.
Yeah.
See,
So-
here's what he did though. He didn't criticize the movie on like the merits of the movie. He said that the landscape of everything, you know, with these other comic book movies and other sci-fi epics, you have all these other movies. So because of that, this movie is not worth seeing, and that's not even fair to the movie. You're knocking it. It's almost like you're just saying, look, we have these four and no more, right? You know, closing the door. He's gatekeeping basically. We're going to
Yeah.
allow the MCU movies. We're going to allow these movies, but we're not going to allow this one
Yeah.
to join in. You know, and that's weak.
The best thing is like when
Another,
he said,
another thing that I would question about his credibility as a writer. Go ahead.
yeah. So the one point that makes me like really headache is the part where he said it's hard to imagine that any audience would demand this. Like, who the hell does he
Well-
think he is to think that nobody would want that? He speaks for us
Someone who is
all,
all-
not just his own opinion.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
put
yeah.
us all in the same boat and says, no, nobody wants that. You don't want that. You don't go and watch that.
It's solipsism, and it's him trying to project himself onto us and basically trying to tell us what we want in the sense of this movie is going to fail. I'm on a mission to make it fail. You are not going to want this movie. And I'm like, dude, shut up. I'm having fun. I'm watching the movie.
Yes.
Yes.
He's superimposing
And
himself.
I feel like, you know, to critique this person as a journalist, you know, if you're going to be reviewing anything, music, film, whatever, you need to at least still bring whatever positives there are to the forefront. And all he wants to do is ego stroke the fact that Cameron helped out on this project. And it's like
Yeah,
that
exactly.
you're bringing negative after negative after negative. You don't talk anything about the plot, and you want to call call yourself a journalist when you're clearly not being objective in any way.
And going back to what you were saying about you know, he's looking at it from his point of view. It's the fact that I'm not the biggest anime fan in the world, but my wife is a huge anime fan. So if I see something that's anime and it may not appeal to me, I know that there's an audience for that somewhere. So I might say something, hey, if I was a fan of anime, maybe this is an element I would like. And that goes back to the objectivity that you were talking about. But he didn't even try that. He just said, no one likes this. This is shit.
Yeah,
Fucking guys, close your eyes.
There's hardly any mention at all of like how similar it is to the manga, and if it's actually good adaptation that manga fans and anime fans would actually like, which is what they should be doing, really.
Exactly.
And
He probably doesn't know that, guys.
just a
He probably doesn't
question.
know.
How many million people reads the Rolling Stones?
Too many.
Yeah. And the sad thing is, when I was going for my journalism degree back in '99, you know, the Rolling Stone was still like, because I wanted to be music and film journalist. There was still a reputation there and a goal of like someday Rolling Stone. And then after all these years, I'm just like, thank God I missed that vote. They can't get objective writers that are not just going to promote whatever label is paying them off or whatever film studio is paying them off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I imagine these people have been like crushed completely. Like their personality is completely just squeezed out. They have no more free thought, anything like that. They just pretty much do whatever they feel they have to do to survive, to fit in or whatever.
I'm not sure their industry is going to last much longer. I mean, we keep talking about the film industry, but I mean, look at the way that people can just go on the ground and film with their phone what is going on and then give you the objective facts. You know, we've had so many. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
The problem
Yeah, I
I
mean, look
see
at the
here.
fact that indie films are the only way to watch anything. A lot of things are original. I mean, I'm not saying all Hollywood films are trash, but it's just the fact that these major, huge corporate entities have taken huge hits, and I think these are their death throes, trying to trash things like Alita. You know, trying to get some kind of relevance, some sort of clout. You know what I mean?
But I must say, I'm not sure if it's just like brands, movie brands that are doing like which is what you might think like paying off
Yeah, I don't
reporters
think
to
that's
say
what they're
this and
doing.
that. I see the more problem or the bigger problem I see is that you have like reporters like a little bit with a smug attitude just sitting there and gatekeeping movies just based on their like they don't even care if it is something that you could like. They just go with their own taste and say like this movie is shit. I won't even give it a chance. I don't care if anybody else likes it. I will stop it right here and end its career just because I don't like it at all, the style. And this is what I saw from several of those reviewers. They just keep the gatekeeping on. And the problem is, I see some. They may have some brands that they are more lenient towards too, so and not so they're harsh. But everything that is not from those brands gets completely trashed by their smug attitude.
No, you're totally right. It does it in the article. Could you bring the article back up, please?
Yeah, to which point?
Right where you were, at the bottom.
Oh, okay.
So exactly what you said is in this article, but it says, back then it might have played like gangbusters, but now after a deluge of comic book epics and other CGI films, they're blatantly saying like, well, it's not MCU.
Yeah.
It's not, DC. It's not Disney. It's Pixar. So it has. There's nothing new for you to see. Don't bother with this film.
It is totally
gatekeeping.
The gatekeeping is because the industry is dying. You know, they're really trying to keep themselves afloat and alive. It's the same thing with journalism. It's the same thing with films, video games. And the fact is, normal people can just come up and make their own stuff, or they're going to alternative sources.
And it's better.
But I think that the death just began. It's like the Oedipus complex. Yeah, the death began because they started to gatekeep. So they thought they could dominate the market, like if they influence coverage, and so smug reporters also put their own stamp on top of that, and thought, okay, we could dominate that thing and just weed out all the smaller stuff. But they set themselves an expiration date, and that is coming to fruition now. So. Yeah. The market is at its best when it has diversity, when you have a lot of movies you can choose through, and you have always the alternative stuff that you can switch up with, so that you don't get always the same kind of receipt, or they always the same kind of like the Marvel formula or the Star Wars formula. You need something else, and people are not getting that. So that is what killing the market, in my opinion. And they brought it upon themselves by being like that, by stop listening to the audience, what they want, and just put out the stuff they want. And also the reviewers are also shaping they are screwing up the perception of the movie industry, what is wanted, because they say, okay, the people want that, even though it's not the truth. He is saying nobody wants that. And so he's basically also lying towards the film industry, giving the signal that nobody wants that. He's back also. And so he's superimposing his will also on top of the movie industry, saying, you have to do that or I will crash that.
Yeah, I think that's part of why they don't like us. They want to shut us up because they're like, you guys aren't supposed to be liking this movie. You're not supposed to be saying anything. Go away. Be quiet.
They thought the movie would just disappear, didn't they?
They were trying to kill it, and it's continued as well. I mean, the reason that Disney isn't saying anything, they're trying to kill it.
Yeah.
They want it to go away. It doesn't fit their paradigm. It's different. It's out there, and it's got a really strong fervent fan base, which is not what they want. They want us to all go and like Frozen.
Yeah, exactly.
And not to mention, Robert Rodriguez kind of an outsider to the
Yes.
whole film system? Because I mean,
Yeah.
first of all, he's not in Hollywood; he's in Austin. I don't see him
Yeah.
making huge Hollywood movies. And it's a big reason why I said we should do our stuff in Austin, because I know it's a big indie film scene. You know, it's kind of outside of that Hollywood machine where they don't let you in unless you're, you know,
Yeah.
one of them or willing to capitulate to them.
He's
But then,
openly said he doesn't like the Hollywood machine. He said like directors
I love
should
that,
try and
yeah.
stay away.
I mean, and you know, Alita was his most financially successful film. He usually does
Yeah.
smaller movies, you
Yeah.
know. So I don't know. Maybe there's some people that are trying to step on it.
Not quite as close.
There's reports of him freaking out because he was going to do the soundtrack, and they went, no, you've got a budget for the soundtrack, and he's like, but the budget for the soundtrack's the first thing to go when we run over budget. He goes, you've got $200 million, dude. You can afford a soundtrack.
You can afford Junkie XL.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
Yes.
apparently he was so
Thank God.
excited. He was so excited when he was going to have a proper soundtrack. It's like, we're going to have a proper soundtrack.
And man, that soundtrack like made the movie in some ways.
Oh, yes.
It's so good.
I've listened to it like 300 times now.
Yeah,
Jesus.
yeah. Sometimes I go
That's
back.
a good number, Ray. It's a really good number,
Oh,
by the way.
I got back into.
into.
I think I found Junkie XL back when he did the Matrix soundtrack, and ever since then, I'm the one weirdo that I'm like, oh, my friends, and like, you gotta hear Junkie XL. Who's that? I'm like,
Yeah.
Alita, the Matrix. What? Come on.
Yeah, I think people just didn't know who he was. They heard his music, they just didn't know who did it. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because
Fury Road.
he was in movies like Sonic. I didn't even know he did Sonic.
Fury
Yeah.
Road. He did the soundtrack to Fury Road,
Right.
which everybody seems to think is fantastic. I think it's okay, but it's not no Alita.
Yeah, I know. It's just your daily commute, right?
Yeah.
Okay, we could go over to the next one. I've just opened up the next article, so to dive into that
We could
one.
literally talk about each review for hours. It's gonna
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've kind of
cut it back a little bit.
we kind of maybe
Shall we- shall we-
may-
shall we go-
only- we maybe only be able to do one more considering time.
Shall we do another one?
There are so many bad takes.
Please,
There's
please.
only one name that I need to say, and we don't even need to discuss this one. Is Manola Dargis.
Yeah, I have opened up that right now.
Oh,
the New York
Jesus!
Times, right?
I want to go into that one too.
Oh,
That's the New York
damn.
Times one, right? That's the
Is this a review or an opinion piece sort of thing?
I'm not sure what it is, but it's there.
It's an
I
opinion
think it's
piece.
an
isn't it?
opinion. I think it's an opinion.
that's the, if it's the New York Times one. I'm
She
thinking about.
calls it
That's
a
the,
We can make
review.
up our
She
own
calls it
mind
a
on this
review.
one.
Oh, it is
So-
a review.
That's
Yeah,
an op-ed. That's an opinion piece.
yeah. That's like it starts also right away with in the first paragraph, and she goes on a rant. But let me start. Alita Battle Angel review. Do female cyborgs dream of breasts? So,
What
sounds like
in the holy hell?
yeah, that's
I mean,
She's human.
an odd
I,
play on the title, though.
yeah. Like
I
if you
killed
if you
this
want,
on Twitter. I killed this on Twitter when I said, "Look, Alita is basically a disabled person. Somebody loses an arm, right? And they replace it with a prosthetic. You don't tell them that they can't have it a particular way.
Yeah, exactly.
Basically, this is a woman who's lost her entire body for whatever reason,
Yeah.
and she's replaced it with a prosthetic, and she's made it the way she wants it to be. End of
If I
story.
can make a personal point, I broke my spine 7 years ago. I've had 3 surgeries. I have like 9 pins in my spine. I have loss of sensation to my legs. To see this movie and to see a woman that felt so broken be able to put herself back together. Yes, Ito did the work, but she pulled herself back together. That was inspirational for me. If I lived in that day and age, I'd go right to Ito and be like, new spine, dude.
And she found a body that went to her subconscious image of herself. It wasn't something Ido made for her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. That's like almost a child's body.
You know, maybe I'm wrong here, but I said that it must have been like some kind of dysphoria for her. And people may not agree with that, but I don't really fully know the meaning of the word, but I imagine being in a body that you don't identify with or that you just know is not yours, that's a dysphoria, right? And so and this was why so many trans people kind of relate to the movie. She didn't feel right in her body,
Exactly.
and for someone to say that you don't have the right to change the way you look or to present the way you want to present, then I mean, how is that progressive at all, right? Isn't that
Yeah.
what people would call transphobic? I don't know. I mean, to me, it reads that way when I look at her review or opinion, whatever she wants to call it. But
And she
Basically,
it's
she
petty.
was jealous.
no,
Yeah,
it's
I mean,
just
we can go through and point out the things and say, what does
yeah.
this have to do with the movie?
That's
What does that have to do with anything? What does
yeah.
this have to do with anything? But it all just comes across as spite and jealousy and just
Yeah, it's
stuff like
a
that.
lot of spite. She's basically telling those people, no, you can't look the way you feel yourself. Like if she's basically bringing points up there are centuries old. So, but let me start here. At one point, an Alita Battle Angel, another dystopian fantasy that reminds you of just how visionary the original Blade Runner was. The cyborg heroine
I bet
gets a
she would
new
have
body.
trashed the original Blade Runner back in the day.
Yeah, she would. It's a streamlined.
Maybe it's out there somewhere.
Yeah, it's a streamlined
Yeah.
shoulder to foot job, one that makes her look like a sex doll with a chrome-plated musculoskeletal system. So it basically starts with a shoulder to foot job. That sounds already sexual.
That
like
wording. There's
yeah,
just
the wording.
no that wording. There's no
Hand
reason
job,
for
foot
that.
job. Yeah, so she's basically trying to pull all those images in the head, all the negative stuff. Her new physique turns out to be an innovative weapon and comes with articulated parts, a wasp waist, and what looks like a discrete chastity panel for the groin. So
I want somebody to find this person's FetLife account and blow it up. Because to somehow watch this movie and that's where your mind goes, come on.
You know what really saddens me? What really saddens me is not the writers. I mean, everybody has their own point of view. Everybody has their own prejudices. Everybody has their own take. What actually disappoints me the most is the editors of these magazines that let these things get published. I mean, back in the day, you'd have an editor which would read this and go, "What is this trash? Go away and write me something that's actually useful. Piss off." That's what a real editor would do.
At least
there are no real editors anymore because they let shit like this get published.
It's because they have nothing left. They're dying. These are their last gasp of breath. This is agonal breathing that you're hearing right now. They have nothing. That's
This
why
one was made last year. At this time last year, before this time last year, they were still doing pretty good. So I think this, if it was written, I don't think they would write this today. Maybe after the virus, I don't know. They might still do it, but maybe they overplayed their hand because they thought they had a little bit more power and more time. But you can't, especially when people get to see the movie, right? And they look back at reviews like this, you're going to want a place to hide because you're going to want to be like, well, I didn't write that, or I didn't mean that when I wrote it, because people are going to look at it and say, what in the world were you thinking? And you can't, you can't afford to have people ask those questions at a time right now, because you need them to listen to you. So if they're looking now and seeing what you wrote, then you're already putting yourself in the I don't want to say one foot in the grave. I want to say you're about to,
I think just in the hot seat, you're putting yourself in a position to be like you probably were already ridiculed by some people for this article. Now the film has come out and it's obviously not what you wrote. So now you're putting yourself up for a secondary, criticism by your readers.
She's writing in a style as if she didn't see the movie, but actually a porn parody of that movie, and has written a review about that. That's the way she writes about it. And that's so disingenuous. The way she writes, like, you could do this kind of review to every sort of movie, and it would look horrible after that. And even to the biggest movies that ever came out. You could find something that you just need to spin it around long enough, and you can find something weird. So I don't know. That's like, it doesn't get in my head how somebody can have that kind of view. But she doesn't stop there. She just keeps running that spin, and she says like, her new physique turns out to be an innovative weapon and comes with articulated parts. I was at that point. And it has also larger breasts than the old model. I changed that in our snort out loud line is pinned on Alita's own ideas how she should look. So basically, they're taking that line that is herself, the image of herself. Yeah. So Edo pointed out that it's basically on herself painted. That is her own image, and she spins it around like, yeah, they did it just to defend themselves. So basically, it's snorted out. It's not that like that. So it's not her will. It's just what the writer wants at that moment. So
okay.
Yeah.
So to bring a female perspective into this, I, hopefully some others maybe, I kind of took that body change as a nod to not only her going from her innocence into finding out who she really is, but also in a small spin, a coming of age. That innocence now, she's got to move beyond that. She has to learn quickly to get to where she needs to be. I don't see, there's no reason for that to be sexualized in the way that this person's writing this article about her.
Yeah.
Also,
it was
really
conceived the way from the beginning that it is a coming of age story, that you accompany Alita from her younger body to the womanhood body, and basically her mind was already at that state the whole time, but Edo wasn't sure which body to give her, so she could have anything between a 13-year-old body or an 18-year-old body in her. Like he wasn't sure which one is right for her. You know, so because she couldn't speak at that time when he picked up out of the trash heap. So that's also a point on that. And he had only that one body, this doll body in store. Also, that comes also on top.
Yes.
And let's be honest, as I've said before, I mean, her berserker body doesn't look overly sexual. It's kind of, I've met a lot of girls that look like that. You know what I mean? I mean, my wife looked like that when I met her. It's really not that crazy. They're writing like she's Dolly Parton or something. You know what I mean? Like she's
with blow up lips and super big breasts. Yeah.
I like that was not even what I came away from the movie thinking. I didn't see this article until after I saw the movie, and I was like, what?
After reading that article, you would have a complete different image. If you don't see the movie, you read just the article, you have a complete different image what you can expect in that movie.
Like I said, when we did the watch party, I expected some breasts.
So some super blown up stuff, blow up lips. Like I don't know, like stuff you could see in actual porn movies. That's what you would expect after reading that. And then you watch the movie and you see just a normal girl. So is every 16-year-old girl in her eyes like a porn star? I'm not sure.
That's weird.
No, I mean, I've already been reading ahead from what's been on my screen, and I honestly right now I'm offended.
Let me get to that part so that we can talk about it. Right. Just let me read to that. If only someone here were joking or had an idea about the construction of femininity, so she is also saying Cameron shouldn't write we females. Why does Alita Rosa Salazar, who has a human brain, even have breasts? Like this question is bonkers.
Like she forgot that Alita Caligritas was a co-writer, I guess, too.
Yeah, you saw what the Rolling Stones guy wrote that basically Alita Caligritas had. They pretend as if she hadn't a part in the writing. They put it on the rock just to fulfill their narrative or the idea.
You're about to say something, Pixie?
Oh. Just that, like she wants to has the gall to bring up femininity first of all. Secondly, the whole point of breasts is because the definition of cyborg is a human-looking or human part robot. Human.
Right.
Human brain.
What she's supposed to have.
Yeah.
Again, this article, like the others you say, sounds like someone that doesn't even know what the hell they're talking about and have any background in sci-fi or fantasy film.
It's some kind of
The problem what I see in this writing is that she doesn't even acknowledge the character of Alita even as a human. If you are, she look at her like a robot, and so she asks that question that would be fitting to a robot. Why has a robot breasts? That could be a question that would be legit because it has no human mind. Well, Alita as a cyborg has a human mind, and it is wrong to ask a human why you have breasts or why you have feet or why you have a dick. So that is the wrongest thing you could do to a human being.
We've got a question from Charles Smith in the chat. It says, Pixie, what do you think of the Born Sexy Yesterday criticism of Alita? I think it's dead wrong. What's your opinion?
I'm sorry, which criticism?
So the Born Sexy Yesterday, do you understand that trope? What Born Sexy Yesterday means?
Give me a little bit of a explanation.
Be honest,
there.
not that many people know this trope. It's just like Twitterati.
It's Lilu. It's Lilu from The Fifth Element.
Yeah.
Basically, you've got someone who, usually a woman,
she's
a fully
savior
formed
trope,
woman,
the female
but
savior
a
trope.
but a childlike understanding of the world. And
Yeah,
so they're
childlike
easily
mind, but with like a sort of an
And
attractive
superpowers and
Okay.
so
yeah,
yeah.
really
So they're easily led.
I got you. I don't agree that she is. I feel like if we're gonna make a comparison to say a character like Lilu, yes, she started off innocent enough, but we know that somewhere locked in Alita's brain is that background. She's already having the memory. She knows that there was so much more to her. So she may be innocent now because of her amnesia, but once that woke up, she knew who she was. She knew what she wanted.
She
knew
starts
what
off
she
innocent,
knew.
but she also has a child's body to begin with as well.
Right.
And as she grows, she becomes more. She gets more agency.
Yeah.
Let her finish the point.
Yeah,
first,
go for
please.
it.
Yeah.
And I do feel like that gives her more credit again as that coming of age. She really is now out of that age. She has an understanding. Lilu, I felt like even through the film when she's looking through and trying to understand war and death, she still couldn't have a full understanding because the depth of maturity, her education, whatever you want to call it, couldn't understand those things, even when it came to the end when she had to, what we thought sacrifice herself.
Yeah.
So I don't feel like that's a fair comparison at all with those two characters.
Also, I saw once a very interesting review from I forgot his name, but they made a video review. He's an old Alita fan, and he brought up comparison between Lilu and Alita. And the problem with Lilu is what you just said is like she couldn't get out of that trope. All knowledge she had came from Corbin, the man she's accompanying. The second part is that in the Fifth Element, you look at Lilu through the eyes of Corbin. Corbin is the audience surrogate. In Alita Battle Angel, Alita is our surrogate, not Ido, not Hugo. This is very clear, clear distinct. And that fan said, if they made that movie like The Fifth Element and Hugo or Ido would be the surrogate of the audience, then the movie would have been a complete fail. Because Kishiro wrote that manga from her eyes and her point of view, and he brought in this Born Sexy Yesterday trope deliberately in the beginning just to break it later. Because you see how Alita starts to rebel against Ido, and she, from that point on, follows her own way. She leaves Ido at one point completely, and she just goes into the world with her own mind and her own ideas. But he made that very smart, and they did this in the movie in a similar fashion. And this is something they didn't acknowledge at all.
Right. Like, again, like you said, at the end, Alita has pretty much become fully formed in her own mind, in her own womanhood, her own femininity. Whereas, like you said, the Fifth Element, the perspective is on Corbin. And so even at that last scene, they're in the bed, they're making out, that that it's giving you a happily ever after, and Corbin's just going to be her caretaker. Because
Yeah.
do you really see Lilu, you know, coming out of the apartment one day, going grocery shopping, just doing her thing? Like, we see her still so fragile at the end of the film.
Yes.
And
Lilu is
that really
also,
was the point of the character in a way. It was supposed to be a contrast between the fact that she was so powerful yet so fragile, which here's the thing that I want to add to this whole conversation that I hope doesn't get skipped over is what Fox was saying earlier, Foxfire. He
Yeah.
talked about the smugness of the writers of these articles. And here's the thing. He calls it the born sexy yesterday trope, and he brings up that name as if it's inherently a negative thing. But it's not. And in a way, it's meant to demonize what audiences like, because audiences, as far as I'm aware, I was raised in the 90s, liked Lilu. She's a crowd
Love
favorite.
her.
Yeah,
Love
I
her.
love
You
that
know what I
movie.
mean? She played well among women and men, because both my wife and I both love that movie, and we both like that character. So first of all, he's bringing this thing that some people like to do. It's a debate tactic where they like to name something in a specific way that gives it like a negative context. But who's to say that's even negative if people like it and they enjoy it? The goal of a movie is to give people joy, some 90 minutes of escapism and enjoyment.
Yeah,
And if they accomplish that, then it's not bad.
but there are some points and merits into that thing, that it's in case of Lilu, it's still sad. If you think about, she's like a superhuman being. It's not something really bad, but she's a superhuman being who's still with a like average guy, and she doesn't even question him or
No,
why
that's
she's
Corbin
with that
Dallas, man.
guy.
That's Bruce
Yeah.
Willis.
It could
He
be
has
not.
survived the Die Hard Christmas. He's not the
Yeah.
average guy, man.
Yeah, you know what I mean. He's like an average guy. She usually wouldn't even look at him if it's a real life situation. So I see the point where this is going. And secondly, she doesn't grow out of that role. She starts as a kid and she ends as a kid. And this is a point where Kishiro has a way better writing and gives that female. She has an own agency in that regard, and she doesn't stay with Ido or with. She would maybe stay with Hugo when he dies. He wasn't even on her level. That's the point. The life in the manga is more realistic. Hugo can't keep up with her. He dies. Like he's not even on the same level of mind. The point where Hugo was on the tube falling, he resigned. He was ready to die. When Alita was in the same position, she pulled herself together and fought with the rest that she had. She didn't give up at that point. So they made sure to show this difference in level of mentality between
And
Hugo and
I did say that
Alita.
in my Figure 4 video about the fact that why Figure 4 is a better match for her than Hugo was, because she was so much more mature and worldly than Hugo was, and Figure 4 has that same experience that Alita does. But at the same time, I do want to point out that the fact that a character like Lilu doesn't necessarily mature towards the end, I think that's just the character writing. Because I mean, you can look at a character like Goku from Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
He's the same child that he was in episode 1, but that's
true.
the way it's meant to be. You know what I mean? Like it's meant to be like, and that's loved, you know. But I at the same time, I do see what you're saying about the fact that Alita does mature, and I love that because you guys know my favorite version of Alita is the Badlands. You know?
Yeah.
Maybe the thing to look at here also is the fact that Lilu, although she represented a lot of femininity to a lot of people in this film, she is only, and again, why I don't think she grows much, is she's just I hate to say plot point for Corbin's growth. Like you said, he is the film. He is yeah, she's there and she's eye candy, but you're really seeing him as the protagonist.
Yeah, he's the main character.
His responses to her help him grow.
Yeah.
Whereas in this film, we're looking at the woman who is using the around her to further her growth and her education.
So Lilu is basically the Hugo of that movie.
Yes.
She is that Hugo, you know. So Hugo was also a plot point, basically.
Yeah.
A male eye candy, if you can see that. I don't know. If girls are,
He was there in service to Alita's character development.
Yeah, and it's also cool. Like now we have a female who is getting a love interest that serves her to growth, and so basically the roles are flipped if you compare that with the 90s, the Fifth Element. So it's actually cool. Comparison, you can say.
Yeah,
So-
but the comparison was done in the articles to deride both films. You know
Yes.
what I mean? It can't just be like, hey, this is one way of telling a story, and this is one story about this character, and this is a different way of telling a story, and this is this story about this character. This is inherently negative, and you are a shitty person for liking it. That's more of
Yeah, that's the way it
Yeah.
was. It was framed, and she goes on and says like, "Why does any cyborg that isn't a sex bot or wet nurse, like after she asking for the breast, why does a cyborg need that? Like she is not acknowledging Alita's humanity. Genre convention only partly explains on the on-screen look of this character, originally created by Yukito Kishiro in his manga series. Kishiro sexes up his cyborg, an amnesiac who in the first comic retains one protuberant breast when the rest of her body is destroyed. This brings to mind Jessica Rabbit, the bodacious femme fatale, and the Who Framed Roger Rabbit, who purrs. Like, how can somebody in his right mind compare Jessica Rabbit to Alita? Like,
oh, this person doesn't like Aquaman.
He's like, this guy's like half-ass writing this article in
That's
his
true,
lonely
yeah.
little
Yeah.
apartment,
Yeah.
and TBS is running in the background, and it's Roger Rabbit's on there, and he's like, huh,
This
she's
is actually
got
one.
tits.
This is
Alita's
Right,
got
not-
tits. Yeah, they're totally a comparison. No.
This is a woman
what
writing
woman
this.
doesn't want to be attractive? What male doesn't want to be attractive? I've never understood this whole thing about why attractiveness is inherently bad. You know what I mean? Even talking about when it comes to stereotypes.
Jealousy, dude.
Yeah, exactly. You know, even the stereotypes of like the busty blonde is always the bimbo. That's not really true. Sometimes there are just attractive women who are smart or attractive men who are smart. And I really hope this writer does not like fucking Aquaman or fucking He-Man or any fucking Batman movie, the Christian Bale, where he gained 40 fucking pounds of muscle to play the role. I hope this person hates every single one of those movies as well. This person is not allowed to enjoy The Dark Knight. How about that? That's my new rule.
Yeah, I'd really like to, after this, maybe somebody can email me the link to this, and I'd really like to dig into the this author or
Yeah.
Wanna go down to the
blogger.
underworld?
We
If you wanna narrow
spoke
it
to
down
her.
to-
We spoke to her on Twitter once, and we asked her questions, and that was called an attack.
Didn't
We
Yeah.
asked her like, "Well, why would you
Wanna be
say
careful.
something like?" So
yeah, they know the
how
questions
that
are
goes.
coming,
Yeah.
and they know how to frame that in order to take
They don't
us
have an
the
answer.
legitimacy away. You
Yeah.
know,
I
The
think we
question-
should stress also that it's best just to not contact any
Yeah,
of the reviewers.
contacting is like attack.
'Cause they're
Criticizing
seen as
opinions
toxic
is an
stuff, so
attack. Yeah,
we can talk about them, but never go directly
yeah.
talking to them.
Like Adam
That's-
White.
yeah.
Just observe him like a distant
Yeah.
creature that you're trying
Exactly,
to
that's
write.
it.
You know,
Yeah, I've researched some of his past articles. He's written about Alita in the past, actually. He was writing about her proportions and how. Let me just pull this up. So yeah, it's as if he was writing an article about CGI characters and how they're replacing humans. It's quite interesting. But he talks about Alita in it, and he says,
Oh yeah, I
it's
think I
as
did
if-
read that.
Yeah. Is that in the list?
And
Well, he
also-
says anyway, it's
I
as
did.
if the effects team tasked with digitally erasing Salazar's off-screen body. So he's saying like they've made her, they've sort of taken away Salazar's appearance for something idealized.
Did they say
Yeah,
the same thing about
Sometimes they
Gollum
do try to
from Lord of the
they
Rings?
do try to claim they erased her sometimes.
Yeah.
And that's just because they don't actually know how Rosa Salazar looks. So
Yeah,
they
yeah.
just go in assuming that just because her face is morphed a little bit, that she doesn't look anything like Rosa anymore.
Hmm.
But if you put them side by side, you would be like, oh, they're the same face. You know,
Sister
one
And
is
also
just
behind the scenes, all the behind the scenes are great in explaining a lot of what they did.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
And,
That-
but
that's
these
what-
people are just going off of
Look, there's
assumptions.
so many instances where they've said something that's blatantly untrue. The guys that were, I don't have the article with me. I think it was a YouTube review, but basically they said, "Oh yeah, it was all green screen." That's a load of shit.
Oh God!
I mean, we know from the background information that they built the whole set. You can see it on
Yes.
Google Earth. It's all there.
Yes.
Everything 2 stories high was completely and fully functional. There was no green screen except up above that where you had to make the city grow up, which everybody has to do. And they claimed that it was all green screen. And they just
No.
throw these things out there and they have no basis for it because they're shit.
Yeah,
Shit reviewers,
you're seeing
no
basically
nothing.
everything of that town, Pixie. So you can say it's. What's your opinion on that?
I'm sorry,
But-
say it again.
Pixie, I said you saw the whole city, so did it look like a green screen movie to you at any
Oh
kind?
no, hell no, no. In fact, the only green screen they actually used was so I'm sitting in the stands facing out to where the cameras are facing us. About 4 or 5 rows down in front of me is Christoph Waltz, and they did a stand-in for his associate, his help, Miss nurse.
Getta. Yeah.
Yeah, but they're down there, and the only thing they're doing is green screens actually behind them, and that way, as they kind of, I guess, turned the cameras, it would at least block the back end of the stadium. But
Yeah.
that was it, and those screens were like 30 feet high, completely in front of me, behind the cameras.
The
Mm.
focus of the shot was
when
always
you see,
completely live action.
yeah, when you see, all of us sitting in the stands, not to pull away from how much the special effects guys put into it, but it was essentially one of those things where they filmed enough people and enough parts of the stands and kind of CG'd that into this mega huge arena, and to say like, it's green screen, we just copy pasted people. That I was there.
Yeah.
My friend Alex, who was in the scene, he was in a scene that was like in the city center, near Ito's place, and it's one of the raining scenes, so you don't really see him, but yeah, he's there. You don't. I guess it could be easy to CG a cat jumping onto a trash can, but they didn't. They could have CG'd the chickens running around with a chicken handler. That's a friend of my husband's, like boss. Like, we all know each other. Everyone in Austin knows someone who had something to do with the movie. So,
There's something to go on your resume. Chicken handler.
And
yes, exactly.
Oh, tell them
When
about
he
the cat, Pixie. While we're talking about animals, tell them about the cat.
Yes. So, my husband was on a virtual call with a lot of his coworkers. Excuse me, I'm stumbling on my words. And somehow we got on the topic of Alita, and his coworker goes, "Oh yeah, we got that cat." And I was like, "You got what cat?" And he goes, No, like in the movie, there's that cat that jumps on the trash can. And I was like, "That's seriously?" And he took his phone out and was showing me the cat, petting it, and it was so sweet. And I'm just like, this is a cat from a movie. We're all in the movie. And it was they had adopted it after the fact. This was
I
not
want to
like
see
a
that
cat.
cat.
Yeah, this is not like a cat that they brought in that was trained or anything like that. This was just a stray that they used in the shot. And then after the film was over, they opted to adopt the cat from the set.
oh, that's sweet.
Do you know the cat's name now?
I do not. They didn't tell me his name.
Oh, shame.
No name the cat.
Probably.
Yeah, definitely not as hissy and scary as he was in the movie.
He's not called
Cool.
Alita or Galley.
Yeah.
You could call the cat Galley. Yeah, that'd be a
Yeah.
great name.
Definitely.
Hey.
Yeah.
Call him Galley.
That's it.
Yeah.
Or Gary, depending on how you want to pronounce it. A boy or a girl.
I think it's time we could advance the plot a bit. And
Can I
once
interject?
yeah,
Can I interject some positivity into this? Would that be
No.
be asking too much?
It's
Let me share my screen, okay? Because I want to give you guys some context. We were expecting to have another special guest for this section. There it is. I've got too many bloody screens. That's the problem. Okay, so we were expecting to have a special guest with us today. Now, I always get this name wrong. I expect I'm mispronouncing this, but Caliopetus, I believe. Does that sound right, guys? Does anybody have a correction for that?
I have not his name up now, but
Caliopetus?
Caliopetus, yeah. So it sounds like that, yeah.
Are you maybe?
We were actually expecting him here today, although he had to bow out. I suspect there was he works with Rotten Tomatoes or for Rotten Tomatoes. So I expect that they found out that he was going to be here, and they basically said, no, you're not doing. Twitter trolls recently as well, so maybe that might have changed his mind, but he didn't come on. We're really disappointed, and we hope if you catch this, Callio, that you understand that we don't have anything at all against you. We have had some run-ins with opinions on Rotten Tomatoes, but you're very welcome to come on anytime, Callio, and we'll have a good, fun, positive chat. And I just wanted to show his review here. This was from the 18th of February, and it's one of the best, most positive reviews that I've read about the movie. Renowned filmmaker Robert Rodriguez teams up with producer James Cameron for Alita Battle Angel, one of the most gorgeous and exciting action extravaganzas in years. Okay, now compared to what we've been talking about for the last half an hour, you can see that this person actually saw the movie for starters. And I'm tearing up a bit with how much they obviously liked it. I don't really want to read through the entire thing, but it's very positive, very well considered. One of the biggest reasons why Alita Battle Angel is such a terrific delight is because of the performance given by Rosa Salazar, who portrays the titular character. From the very first time we see her on screen, she's instantly likable, and we can follow her story and root for her all the way through the picture. She is not familiar to the world around her, and seeing her discover what certain things are, such as a chocolate bar, can make for some exceptionally comedic moments. It's a really positive review. He is part of the Alita army, and he gave it overall grade A. So it wasn't all negative out there. And,
well, it's got 62% on Rotten Tomatoes. That's mostly positive.
Yeah.
So
over the time, more and more positive votes or reviews come in, especially because the lesser critics or those that are not invited in the first screening come in and add to that account, and they are a lot less dependent, I would say. So they can have a lot of different opinions there and better opinions, and they basically averaged out the negative 38% we had at the beginning. The movie got 38% as initial rating for a triple A blockbuster movie. That's like a death sentence. It's a death sentence, yeah. And all those reviews that came in brought this back to 65%. So it means that all those that came after must have been significantly better reviews to just get it to 65 or to 60% back up. So they had to compensate for that bullshit that came in early. So yeah. So actually, most are pretty. A lot of them are pretty positive. So and I think like if something is thought of as you have this rotten and you have this fresh rating, and I think you have to have at least 3 stars out of 5 or so to get a fresh rating. I'm not sure. Like 60 from an individual author. But I'm not sure how that works. But sometimes you get like from one author a 5 of 10 and it's still fresh. And other movies have like 6 out of 10 and they are rotten. I don't know how that works in Rotten Tomatoes. Kyle would have been a good guest to explain how that rating works with them.
Yeah, so I'm hopeful that we can get him on and he can give us some background into how it all works, because it really is not very understandable from our perspective.
Yeah, this is not so very transparent, like how it works. So
cool. Well, yeah, I just wanted to interject some positivity in there. There was some.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, it's easy to focus on the negative, and it's easy to spend an entire stream picking apart the people who just obviously either didn't see the movie or had such an agenda that they really ignored what they're actually looking at.
But factual, we have just dissected 2 articles, like 1.5 for now, because you have to do a lot of work just to get through one of those articles and to talk about all the points that are like wrong and to give them a different perspective. And like there were like dozens of those. Like there were maybe 2 of the biggest ones, but there are like dozens of those kinds of articles that came in and did this kind of damage. Like, if you allow, I would also continue, because the thing with the Roger Rabbit thing is that she brought that in, like, with that one note, like, yeah, but by whom and for whom and why? Like, she's basically telling that this movie is catered to men and not just to a woman. And this movie was actually catered to, designed to be appealing to young girls. And she spins it
Yeah.
around and says, like, it's like it's appealing for dude bros, like they always keep telling, you know.
Well,
And
I mean, I just my perspective is almost like she's saying like there's no audience for this, like not just like catering to men, because she's already talking about how hypersexualized it is, but when she says by whom, like for whom, that's almost to me just saying like this movie is crap and no one's gonna want it. You're not
yeah,
gonna want it. Nobody's gonna want it. Don't worry about seeing this. Like
I think,
mean, but that's just is that my perspective.
yeah, there were a number of other articles written about this one that she wrote. One was by Decider, and one was by the Mary Sue, and they both were going over some of the points that she made and reinforcing what her intent was, and that was basically to say that the movie is, in a way, I guess, sexist, because
didn't
it's written by men for men, basically, is what she's trying to say. And there were a number of articles that came out saying that that it's just too many of them, that Alita is it's not feminist enough. It's a man's fantasy. It's things like that. And really, I feel
yeah,
like
there was this
I'm
one
tired of
title
how
where
they
she said,
limit.
like, Alita is the man's fantasy of female empowerment.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and like they really, but what they don't realize they do though is that they really limit the idea of what a woman is allowed to be. Because if a woman is,
Yeah.
let's just say, let's say sexy in the conventional sense, or the traditional sense, or whatever, then they say that's bad. You're not supposed to be that way. If she is any way that they don't approve of her being, then that's also bad. And so it gets to a point where they don't place the same limitations on male characters. If it
No.
was reversed, if Alita was male, we wouldn't have things being reeled about her body, right? We wouldn't. You don't hear people asking, why does RoboCop have the shape of a chest, right? Because if you look at RoboCop, he has a shape. He has pecs,
yeah,
he
why he has
does.
abs.
Yeah, nobody
Although
questioned that though.
we did question the George Clooney Batman nipples, though.
Yeah, we did. They
Yeah.
Wait,
questioned the
why'd you bring
nipples.
that up? That was
Yeah,
really
that was
traumatic.
bat nipples.
I was
But it
thinking
wasn't.
Hey,
exactly
we
the
were
same
bringing
thing.
Okay, those nipples that had some kind of life of their own, I must say. That was the
Yeah,
spiciest male nipples I have ever seen.
But
but
even
yeah,
then,
but they limit.
I think that they should question these retarded ideas. These critics about only writing for 50% of the population. Like, why would you make a movie only for men or only for women? How about this? You put stuff in it that everyone will like, so everyone goes and sees your movie, and it's successful.
Yeah.
There you go. Young girls can like it. Young boys can like it. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I really like Japan, and I would love to see a movie about him in the sequel. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
everyone can like this friggin' movie, and I think that's what they're kind of having issues dealing with. As they keep saying, they're in their death rows. Red Letter Media gets way more hits and views than they ever will in these little articles. So, that's it.
Also,
Start
she carries on with, like, Alita is the latest from James Cameron, though he takes only some of the blame. He, like, what kind of blame? But okay, I keep reading. He helped produce the movie and shares script credit with Lita Kalogridis. They collaborated on Avatar. He was going to direct it himself, but handed it off to Robert Rodriguez, Sin City. The presence of other Avatar veterans, the senior visual effects supervisor, animation supervisor, and so on, raised expectations that Alita would at least look good, different, or inspired. But too much of its overall design feels borrowed by turns, evoking the monochromatic clutter of District 9, the vertical favelas of Ready Player One, and the randomly miling anonymous hordes of whatever. So the last part is, what is she even referencing to?
Did
Just
she
like,
forget how to end a sentence?
yeah,
Like,
It's even not worth to dig out the reference she's referring to. Like, whatever. That's the kind of negligence you see in the text. She isn't even doing the effort to bring her reference in what she's referring to. Like, whatever. So this is the lowest where you can review a movie. It's basically just keeping a big dump on it and like saying like it's borrowed by District 9 or Ready Player One. Those ideas were in the original Battle Angel manga long before District 9 came or before this other movie. Like what's this other movie called? Like where you see Salem, the idea of Salem take over. There's a sci-fi movie.
Elysium or something like that?
Elysium. Elysium was brought up so
Elysium,
often. Yeah. Because when Alita was made, those reviewers brought up a lot of times Elysium, and Elysium has clearly took that idea from the original Battle Angel manga. But either they kept that idea or this information under the rug, or when they even dived into that, they said, yeah, okay, Elysium was quicker, so yeah, bad luck for you. You shouldn't bring up the thing. You shouldn't do Alita because Elysium was quicker in stealing that idea, basically. That was the bottom line under that. Even though it came in a Battle Angel Alita and it deserves it to tell the story its own way, they say, no, it doesn't deserve it because somebody else stole the idea quicker. This is mind-boggling.
It's all just a hate on it.
Yeah, and it's as simple as doing your homework. If you want to, like we saw that really, the really positive article, and obviously this person not only saw the film but paid attention. We don't know, if they have followed from the beginning from the manga, and then you have this person who obviously didn't even do any homework as a journalist to say, oh, well, this was originally a book, then it was a movie. I mean, you can find that information on Wikipedia.
Yes. She even brought up his name, Kishiro, and she didn't miss to mention that all those ideas that she brought up in District 9 were also some way part in the Battle Angel manga. It is part of it. The favelas, the poor districts that there were, this difference between rich and poor, that was all in Battle Angel. So she must explain me how Alita could have ripped off their ideas when Battle Angel was first. So it doesn't compute. And then she keeps on going. It's like a pile-up of cliches in service to technological whiz-bangery. Alita is one more story of the not quite human brought to life with hubris and bleeding-edge science. It takes place in the 23rd century after a global cataclysm called the Fall. The movie's story, inspirations, and allusions, quote Hitchcock, though more rightly announce it as a 20th century artifact, one that begins when Alita's head and shoulders are found and refurbished by paternalistic Dr. Ido and atypically uneasy Christoph Waltz. There's a post-apocalyptic meet-cute that morphs from yet another riff on Frankenstein's monster into a sitcom wife, father, and daughter duet, plus brawling and exposition. The story proceeds by fits and starts with a narrative line on Alita's journey of self-awareness that is embellished with a
Foxfire?
I think I cut off.
You're back.
Yeah. Alita's journey of self-awareness that is embellished with a dreary old-fashioned romance and regularly interrupted by chaotic action scenes. Some of this crash and boom stuff takes place during a game called Motorball, one of those survivalist contests that have been a genre staple since at least the 1970 film Death Race 2000. The contestants have something to do with Vector, a wasted Marshall Ali.
Just something to do. Just something to do.
A regulation villain who takes fashion cues from the Matrix. This being a very small world, he lives with Ido's ex-Chiron, Jennifer Connelly, who when not selling her soul, launches in garters and stockings. Like, come on. Like, it doesn't even try to find anything. good.
Yeah. I'm just gonna comment on everybody dresses like it's the Oscars because that's
Yeah.
obviously important to the film.
Yeah, also you can imagine how she is sitting there if she watched that movie in its entirety. I give her some benefit of the doubt that she at least sits there, but she must have sitting like this, like so in the car in a chair, like back leaned and like completely pissed off and like doing that face, so like somebody does who looks at something very disgusting. So like that kind, and the writing is putting up all the imagery. Like there's nothing in that movie that you could desire, and everything is told what this movie wants to tell, and don't even bother whatever. Like it's this kind of attitude, the smug attitudes that I hate. And everything here tends, like she keeps on, everything here tends to remind you of something else, including Alita, who was created with performance capture. This involves monitoring and recording a performer's movements using sensors attached to her face. That becomes the foundation for a character that's digitally flashed out. Cameron used a version of this technology to create an effect in Avatar, a reminder that whatever his limitations as a filmmaker, he is a great visual storyteller who is invariably easier on the eyes than ears. He is a technical whiz. Salazar's performance, alas, is consistently bland, but then she has drawn and directed the way like Jessica Rabbit. So she's also ragging on that. Come on. Not even Rosa she's giving any credit.
Wait a minute. When did this person meet James Cameron and be like, oh, he's hot? Like, he's hot. And so we're going to I got to give a nod to James over there. Maybe he'll read my article.
Yeah, but she's like.
But then I'm going to go and bomb his movie.
Yeah.
In the same sentence.
This is what I don't get. And the Rosa, she did a fantastic job on that, and she gets completely dragged down.
Okay, Fox, we've been on this for half an hour now. We need to move on.
You're right.
I understand your furor over this article. The article is ridiculous. It never should have made it to print. I said half an hour ago, editor did not do job. Editor did not read it. Editor just let it through. Editor needs to be fired.
It's the extreme sort of thing. Lots of reviews have this sort of ideology behind it.
Yeah. But I mean, we could go on for this for hours, but the upshot is that this person may be borderline psychologically impaired, going on the amount of garbage that they wrote. And the fact that the editor let it through just tells me that that particular rag is completely useless and should only be used for wiping one's butt. So
yeah, you're good that you interrupted. There were still 2.5 paragraphs, and don't
go there. Don't go there. We don't need it. It's pretty obvious from what we've seen so far what it's like. Yeah. So we've had a pretty long stream, although it's had a couple of interruptions. But I think maybe this is a topic that's going to need more than one stream. So we may wrap things up here pretty soon and come back to this at a later point where it fits into the schedule. But thank you all so much for coming on. As I said, this got spicy. We knew it would. There's a lot to be unpacked here, and there's a lot of angst that's coming forth over this subject, and I'm there with you. I know how it feels. So next week we're having a stream on other ways to support Alita Battle Angel. We'll be seeing some new faces there. Josh Shamel Bro will be back, and Avon C will be joining us for the first time, so that will be interesting. So the question for next week is, what's your favorite idea for supporting the sequel push? So if everybody could have a think about how they could support the sequel, and if we come up with some new ideas, we'll see what we can do to make those happen, because Alita Army is the can-do group. You've already done some amazing things, and I'm sure there's more amazing things in store. So we want to see everything that we can come up with, and we'll work it through and see if it's possible to make it a reality. So that will be on our next stream, Other Ways to Support Alita Battle Angel. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you, this week's guests, for coming on. Pixie Phoenix, you were great.
Come on again.
Please come on
I
again.
would love to be back. I would love to come visit you guys again.
Yeah, come on.
So come and have a look at the details in the sign up sheet. And see if you find another topic that you want to come on about. We will probably be revisiting this topic because there's so much material to unpack. But I have to sort of put my foot down and end the stream because it's getting a little bit long.
Yeah.
So thank you for coming on, Pixie. Thank you, Vladdy, for coming on again. You're becoming
Thanks
a regular. And Last 300, we always appreciate your input.
Definitely.
Thank you, regulars. I'll also plug Last 300 is going to start live streaming off of his channel. He's organizing, what you calling it, 300?
I have no idea, but it's going to have something to do with beer and my name. So just come have a drink with me. How about that?
Hey,
Two of my favorite things.
And shout out to Austin, Texas, my birthplace.
The last 300 beers.
That's a good enough. We can do that now.
Beers and buds.
But yeah,
Okay,
shout out to Austin, Texas, my birthplace. I'm gonna come see y'all again sometime out there.
Yeah, it'd be great, man.
So apparently 300's lining up an Australian esque version of this live stream. So we're going to have an episode where myself, Bozilla, or he's New Zealander, but close enough, and Dizzy B and a bunch of other Australians are going to get on there, and we're going to drink American beers and tell 300 how bad they are. And he's going to drink our beer, and then he's going to drink our beer, and then organise to come to Australia because the beer's so good.
Stick to the Japanese beers. Japanese beers are great.
Yeah, that's true. That's tasty.
We'll have to
was
do
really
a
culture.
glad to get one from my
I'm gonna
friend.
need a translator for that Australian show.
It's open invite. Anyone comes.
We laugh in superior German beer.
Before
The challenge,
before
man.
Gets nasty. So remember, guys who are listening, that this is your stream. You can come on and talk about Alita if you like. The sign-up link is in the description. So please, if you're interested in coming on and you see a topic that you're interested in, sign up, come on, have a chat. It's not hard. You're just talking with friends. We're all friends
The
here.
perfect husband. The perfect husband brought me this beer.
It's not Japanese.
Sapporo is
Sapporo.
Japanese. Yeah.
Oh, you gotta get cranberry jam on here. You're gonna start talking about beers.
No, she's the Kraken master. She
Kraken
drinks the
yeah.
strong stuff.
Yeah, but she still loves her craft beer, so
Yeah.
we had a conversation the other night, Ray.
Yeah.
We have a good stream.
That'll be fun. I'm looking forward to that. We'll advertise it more here when we get more details. You got to set that one up, 300.
Definitely will soon.
Excellent. So anyway, thank you for joining us, folks. We appreciate you listening for these long and very emotional streams that we have. It's you guys that make the fandom special. We do this for you. And please, if ever you want to come and join us, you're very welcome. And what we like to say at the end of every stream, 3, 2, 1, buy those Blu-rays, baby. If you can find them. They need to print them all. Okay, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week. Bye for now.
Yeah, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
You know, back when I was in the academy, we would follow every toast with a song. It's better to have loved and lost than never
twist? Hmm.